I've talked about A Course in Miracles a little bit on the channel, and I have a few readings and discussions way back when. And I was wondering how many. I know there's only a few people here, but have any of you read A Course in Miracles or looked into it? I ask because the aspect of vision is talked about a lot in A Course in Miracles, and I think it does a really good job at describing the difference between what we see through projection and through you could say the eyes of the ego, and what you can develop as vision, which is true sight, or being able to see things as they really are. And vision is really sort of like a sixth sense. It's almost like an intuition. It doesn't actually utilize the physical sight. So I thought it'd be really interesting to talk about it. Isaiah saying, I saw the playlist, haven't tuned into it yet. No worries. Leah, I started looking into it after seeing the first few videos. Cool. Don't be sorry for not getting into it or anything. I'm glad that you guys are even interested. Oh, the book is A Course in Miracles, AJ. I've talked about it a little bit, very seldom, and then I also have a few videos at the very beginning of my channel. And I was just asking because the discussion topic today is going to incorporate the concept of vision, which is talked about in A Course in Miracles. But it's not necessarily something that is relegated to A Course in Miracles in particular. It's just, I feel like that work does a good job describing it. But it's something that I've noticed develop in my own life and my own practice, and I think it would be good to describe it. So I guess we'll talk a little bit about that after the meditation, which we'll do here in 5 minutes. And it'll be a 15-minute meditation. If you haven't been here before, we just do a 15-minute meditation, guided. You can always mute me if you don't want it to be guided. And set your own alarm, 15 minutes. And I think it helps set the intention, helps us become present. We're trying to create a space or a container that is deliberate and calm and present, sort of very separate and different from what most people are used to in their daily lives, especially if they're very busy people with busy lives and work schedules and such. How's everybody doing, by the way? Do you guys have busy lives? Is this something that you enjoy, being able to tune in, meditate, have discussions? Isaiah, your comment on your most recent post really helped me out. Following for like a month. It's good to have you. I'm having I'm having trouble remembering which comment, because I respond to many people, but I do recognize your name, Isaiah Young. So I just can't remember what we talked about. AJ, absolutely on both counts. Great. I'm really glad. It's good to get a little bit of feedback. So I appreciate it. Not that busy, eh? Asino? That's good. That's nice. It's good to try and create a lifestyle that is more relaxed, not as stressful. I'd like to do more content on practical ways to increase our quality of life, our quality of living, happiness through practical means, because it's not just about meditation, it's not just about spiritual work, it's also about creating an environment for ourselves that lends itself to a happier life. I think that a misconception for many people, not all people, but many people, is that, something drastic needs to change, or someone needs to enter their life, or something needs to enter their life in order to make it quote unquote better. But as soon as we realize that it doesn't take that much, it can be a couple steps here and there, small changes build, and eventually you're living a much happier life than you were when you first started. I think that the task of becoming happy or achieving, a stress-free life or better health or more wealth, spiritual gains, emotional well-being, all this types of stuff, it sounds big and daunting to a lot of people. But if we break it down into steps that are actionable, then life very quickly changes for the better. So it'd be nice to make some content on what we can do practically that's not necessarily spiritual, such as limiting the amount of stress we have in our lives, creating an environment that's conducive to the work, conducive to peace and presence and mindfulness, instead of trying to swim upstream or make it an uphill battle. We make it easy for ourselves. All right, so looks like we got 10 people here, almost 10 people, 9 people. That's really great. We're going to start our meditation in just a minute, so I'll switch over to the other screen. Everybody who wants to participate, please get comfortable, and I'll do a guided meditation, another body scan meditation, because I think that's very pleasant. And we'll try and relax. Vivid Bites is asking, hey, when are you answering to the rest of the comments in your newest video? Probably later this evening after this live stream. AJ, just ordered A Course in Miracles. Have you read the Kabbalion? I have read the Kabbalion. It's one of my recommended readings for people who are brand new to all of this sort of thing, because it sets up a very good foundation, describing the laws, the principles, the Hermetic principles in a way. And it's obviously not as heavy or dense as actually trying to read the Hermetica or something. It's very easy to approach and easy to digest, and can open up the mind in a way that's not forceful. That's where I started, actually, was the Kabbalion. And meditation, Buddhism, Kabbalion, and reality creation. And years later, here I am, and I can coalesce all of the experience I've had, all the studying I've done, into something digestible for most people. It doesn't have to be veiled behind spiritual language or anything. Real Eyes, good to see you again. Namaste. Namaste. Glad you're here. Sahad, or Sahaj. Do you know Jiddu Krishnamurti? I know Krishnamurti. I'm pretty sure. Let me just Google and make sure. Yes, I know Jiddu Krishnamurti. I thought that I forgot that there's a sort of first name there, not just Krishnamurti. But yes, I know of him. I've listened to a few of his talks. AJ, great. It makes more sense the more I'm learning. Yes, it does. It does start to make a lot of sense, actually. And the more you read, the more you meditate on it, allow it to sort of percolate, ponder it. And if you go from, book to book, source to source, religion to religion, you start to see a common thread. And it starts to coalesce into a much clearer picture. Vivid Bites, have you ever done the MBTI test? What's your result? I have done MBTI. Actually, when I was a teenager, MBTI was right up my alley, and I was quite into it. I actually had a YouTube channel way back when that focused on MBTI, and it was doing pretty well, but I eventually left it all behind because of the limitation in focusing solely on personality types or a framework that is ultimately limiting if you want to move beyond it. But to answer your question, INTJ, and maybe that makes sense to you, maybe it doesn't. What's your MBTI type? Does everybody else know their MBTI type, and are they confident that they've landed on the correct result for their type? That's always a big one. Okay, so we'll do the meditation. Switch screens, and I'll look at the chat again afterwards. You can feel free to put stuff in there if you want, but we're gonna do the meditation. It'll only be 15 minutes. So anybody who wants to participate, you can. Just get comfortable seated position. You can even be lying down. And we'll just start by, as we get comfortable, taking a deep breath through the nostrils at your own pace, nice and deep, holding at the top for just a few moments. And then breathing out through the mouth with a nice sigh and relaxing the body. And take another slow, deep breath through the nostrils, holding at the top. And a nice long exhale, nice and slow, relaxing the entire body. Just continue to take these easy, slow, deep breaths, intending to relax on the exhale. At your own pace, the depth of your own lung capacity, and experiment. How relaxed can you get with these exhales? How much can you let go of any notion of right or wrong, way to meditate or breathe or even be? Just letting go of all tension, both physically and mentally. And if you haven't closed your eyes, you can allow them to close as you relax, as you take these deep breaths. We're just relaxing, letting go of all thought, any deliberate thought, any thought of the past or the future, letting them pass, and settling into a relaxed state of mind and body. And when you're ready, you allow your breath to taper off into a natural, calm, shallow rhythm. No need to force deep breaths, be deliberate any longer. Just allow it to become natural. We're breathing through the nose, and now we're bringing our attention to the breath at the nostrils. Just focusing our attention at the breath at the nostrils. focusing in on what it feels like to inhale, what it feels like to exhale naturally, and intending to relax. If you need to take deeper breaths in order to settle in further or sense the breath more clearly, feel free. Just allow the breath to do what it will. Shallow, deep, slow, fast. Observe the breath as it comes in to the lungs and moves out. Your body is perfectly capable of taking care of you, keeping itself functioning through breath all on its own. So we're learning to observe and letting go of control, relaxing and becoming present. Just focusing on the breath. And now we want to bring our attention to our feet and just sense the feet. Become aware of your feet. And then relax your feet. My feet are relaxed. And allow all tension to drain from the feet. You can focus on one foot at a time and oscillate between, or you can focus on both and say, my feet are relaxed. And then we'll move up to the ankles, aware of the ankles. My ankles are relaxed. We'll move up to the shins. Notice your shins. My shins are relaxed. Now back around to the calves. Noticing the calves. My calves are relaxed. We'll move up to the knees now. The kneecap, the knee joint, inside and out, back and front. Just place your attention here, no right or wrong way. Just becoming aware of the knees. Training our focus, and then intending to relax. My knees are relaxed. Moving up to the thighs. Focusing our attention on the thighs. And just relaxing them. They can become so tight the way we sit all the time. Just relaxing them. My thighs are relaxed. And then back around to the hamstrings, the back of the thighs, back of the legs, from the knees up, and just relaxing them as well. And now our hips, focusing our attention on the hips, the pelvis. My hips are relaxed. I can say my glutes are relaxed as well. And then allow your attention to spread across the entire legs. Sense from the hips all the way down to the feet. My legs are relaxed. I let go of all tension. Just relaxing the legs. Every little muscle, every part, nice and relaxed. Now we'll move up to the abdomen, the lower abdomen. Our navel is, our belly button, these lower abs. You can take a deep breath if you need to, into the belly, and as you exhale, just relax this area. My lower abdomen is relaxed. And you're allowing your breath to be natural. If suddenly you take deep breaths, that's okay, because that's your body relaxing. We'll move up to the ribs, the upper abdomen, and just relax this area. My upper abdomen is relaxed. Sort of the part in the middle of the chest. Slowly up, sort of scanning with awareness and relaxing up into the chest. Sensing the chest from the collarbones, the shoulders down. My chest is relaxed. Can let go of all tension and just be relaxed. Move around now to the lower back. Sense the lower back. Become aware of what it feels like. And then relax those muscles. My lower back is relaxed. We'll move to the mid back. Relax the mid back. And scanning up the upper back. Our trapezius muscles are, our shoulder blades. And just relaxing the upper back. And now allow your awareness to spread across the whole torso, front and back. Sensing the whole thing and relaxing the entire torso. I am relaxed. My legs are relaxed. My torso is relaxed. My back is relaxed. It's completely safe to be this relaxed. And we'll move up to the shoulders now. The tops of the shoulders, the sides of the shoulders. Just gently placing our attention in these areas, and then I am relaxed. My shoulders are relaxed. And just let any tension drain. We'll go down the right arm, the right bicep, the right tricep, this upper arm part of the right arm, sensing the whole thing, and then relaxing. And then down to the elbow of the right arm. My elbow is relaxed. Down to the forearm of the right arm. My forearm is relaxed. Down to the wrist. Inside and out, my entire wrist is completely relaxed. And then the hand, the palm, back and front, down to the fingertips, completely relaxed. Just allow the intention to do its work in relaxing your body. Softening, allowing, relaxing, letting all tension melt. And now we allow our attention to Focus on the entire right arm from shoulder to fingertips. And just affirm my arm is completely relaxed. Let all tension drain from the arm. We'll move over to the left shoulder. Feel the top of the shoulder, the sides of the shoulder, and just relax. My shoulder is relaxed. Let them sink down. Let them just go. And we'll move down to the left upper arm, biceps, and triceps. And just relax that portion of the body. And down to the elbow. Inside and out of the elbow of the left arm, we're just relaxing. My elbow is completely relaxed. Again, deep breaths can help. If they come naturally, that's okay. Allow yourself to relax. We'll go down to the left forearm. We'll relax the left forearm. My forearm is relaxed. Down to the wrist of the left arm. Inside and out. Nice and relaxed. And now the left hand, the palm, the back of the hand, down to the fingertips, every joint, every tendon, intend to relax. And we'll allow our awareness to encompass the entire left arm now. My left arm is relaxed. Allow every tension, every bit of tension to drain. It's completely okay to be present, to be relaxed, to be calm. And now we'll do the neck and throat. Relax the neck and throat. A lot of tension in people's throats. From talking, from not talking when you're meant to. We hold a lot of tension holding up the head. Just relax. We'll do the entire head now, including the face, the ears, the top of the head, the back of the head. Just intention is enough, and allow tension to drain from the head and face. Scan quickly the eyebrows, the forehead, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and just relaxing, letting go. The jaw, letting go. Down to the throat again, letting go. The back of the neck, relaxing. The back of the head, relaxing. The scalp and top of the head. Just relax now. And now we allow our awareness to encompass the entire body from head to toe in a diffuse nature. Here we are, here is our body, and we're just relaxed. Say, I am relaxed. You can take a deep breath, if you'd like, through the nostrils, holding at the top, and a big sigh through the mouth, nice and slow. I am relaxed. So now here we are, nice and present, grounded in this moment, grounded in our bodies, relaxed and present, peaceful, and ready to have a wonderful day or evening, weekend, and week. So whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes, allow your body to come back to its physical nature of being active instead of dormant in a way. Nice and slowly, but holding on to the intention to be relaxed, to be present. Great. Hopefully that was a nice meditation for everybody. It's always good to check in with the body and spend some time relaxing it, because we hold on to a lot of tension in life, and don't usually take opportunities or time to become present, to relax. So I feel like these Sundays are a good opportunity. These satsangs are a good opportunity to spend some time at least together doing that. And we know that we're all here together. We're all here for a similar purpose, to gather together in community, to talk about things that are uplifting, to be present, to gain connection with each other and with ourselves, especially. Gain further insight into who we are, why we're here, what we're doing, why we're doing it, and developing a nurturing environment for ourselves that help shift focus from negativity or deleterious things in the world or in our minds towards things that are positive and life-giving, life-sustaining. So it's good to start with a relaxed state of mind and body, and then hold on to that intention to be relaxed, and remember that we're all extending out from ourselves to another person or a community to connect and to understand and to love and to be kind and compassionate. Relaxing helps us soften ourselves and dismantle the walls that keep us separated. So I really appreciate everybody who joined me for that. Thank you so much. Vivid Bites, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed. And now I'll check the chat if there's any other questions. AJ said, totally agreed on the MBTI. I was an ENTP, and it sort of became a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah, I feel like there are overarching archetypes, there are temperaments, and you can utilize certain frameworks and theories in order to gain a better understanding of yourself psychologically or other people, where they might be coming from. There is a certain usefulness and like positivity to these things. But like you said, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in the sense that you've allowed yourself through your own volition to be placed in a box, and then sometimes you can become so attached to the type, to the archetype, to the temperament, that it becomes an excuse, or it becomes pride, or it becomes just another label, and you're creating like a little padded cell for your own mind, and it can be completely innocent. It's not like you're trying to limit yourself, but it ends up being limiting. So it's good to just drop these things, and what you can take away from it is that everyone is different, and there are archetypes, there are temperaments, and that can help you function in the world, through compassion, through empathy, through understanding. But also, everyone has the opportunity, the ability to grow, to change, to step out of their comfort zone, to work on the parts of themselves that are not as strong as you might say as other parts. Vivid Bites, I don't even want to have any thought activity after that meditation. I know. It's really nice to, and that was just 15 minutes. Could you imagine, meditating for an hour, getting really into it, really locked in, becoming very, very present, and then, having to go back out into the world, and, that's the mindfulness work. So you meditate when you have the time, become present in your own space, you close the doors and go within, so to speak. And then when you go into the world, you bring that presence through mindfulness and the intention to stay relaxed and calm and open as best you can, while maintaining, of course, healthy boundaries. But it's like it is a process. It's sort of like a game you get good at playing. Instead of the ego's game, we're creating a new game that focuses more on presence, peace, calm, compassion, connection, not on division, not on pride, anger, fear, these types of things. The world can become a loving place, and the world can become a very safe place. It depends on our perception. And that goes right into our discussion topic for today, which is vision in a world of illusion. And the illusions would be the projections. So you see a picture of the world, but that picture of the world is of your own making. And you might even want to say it's of the ego's making. So you can disidentify with the you, quote unquote, the ego that makes these images, and instead step back and create new deliberate images that are more conducive and helpful to growth and presence. Phil, thank you so much. Love your work and the way you communicate. It's been a huge help and has offered a lot to reflect on. Keep it up. Thank you so much for the donation. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really glad that it's had a huge help. That's its own reward, you know. That's why I do it, to be the change that I want to see in the world, so that others recognize the example and can also be the change that they'd like to see in themselves and in the world. It's like little steps like these, bit by bit, being the example unto others, sharing what you know about, you know, life, your wisdom, your own unique perspective on mental health, presence, spirituality. Everyone has something to share because everyone has unique life experience. So whatever helped you become happier, more present, more calm, more loving, more kind, creating a life for yourself that you enjoy, you can offer to others freely. And then, you know, they take what they can. You know, you're saying offered a lot to reflect on. Yeah, people reflect on what you offer, and then they incorporate what works for them. And soon, through this work, and that's why I talk about it, I encourage everybody to, in their own way, do the same thing in their lives. You know, be an example unto others. Try to be present so the ego isn't constantly reacting all the time. And through that, others will notice, like, there's another way to be. And, you know, maybe they notice how calm you've become, or happy, or thoughtful, or present. And the world changes as we as individuals change. It starts with showing that it's possible. So thank you so much for the donation again. All right. Asino says, thanks for the meditation. Thank you for participating. Thank you so much. Really glad you're here. Realize, I have a question. Why aren't feelings like anger, hurt, and disappointment talked about in the spiritual world? Shouldn't spirituality be neutral instead of all good feelings focused? I don't know. I think that there's a, because I talk about anger and hurt, disappointment, depression, anxiety a lot, because they're a part of our experience. I talk about them in the way that, you know, in the sense that I'm acknowledging that they're there. I'm acknowledging that everyone experiences them. I'm acknowledging that they're unpleasant. I'm acknowledging that we don't necessarily want to always experience them. And we also don't want them to run our lives, that's for sure. We're all looking for happiness. We're all looking for connection. We're all looking for love. And in that sense, it's good to start where we're at and relinquish the things that aren't serving towards that end. So I think what happens with a lot of spiritual groups, spiritual people, is unfortunately the notion that everything should be love and light and good feelings can set up a precedent where the other stuff just isn't looked at because it's uncomfortable and doesn't align, quote unquote, doesn't align with that paradigm. It's just I think it's just a difference in framing and contextualization, because it's not that hurt, anger, disappointment, fear, etc. don't align. It's we bring those things, those negative things, into the light of love, into the light of presence, into acceptance in order to transmute them. So there's a difference between a context which creates a situation where people are ignoring the things they don't like, the negativity, and a context in a situation where they're incorporating and transmuting the negativity. So I really appreciate this question, because it's what I want to slowly build, is a very practical spiritual community and sort of system, if you will. I think that, a lot of people think of spirituality as very metaphysical, very mystical, but there's a massive practicality to spiritual work. And I think that's very well exemplified by the big teachers like Krishna. He talked a lot about karma yoga, which is taking your life as it is and making it your spiritual work. It's very practical. In Hinduism, you can be a householder and still practice spiritual practices and work and move towards a higher goal of enlightenment and such. There's also, Jesus Christ talked a lot about how to practically incorporate his teachings into the lives of the people he taught. So, loving your neighbor, treating others as you would like to be treated. If someone asks you of something, go the extra mile. That's a saying because Jesus said, if a brother asks of you to go a mile, go two. So we say in common language to go the extra mile. These are very practical things you can do in order to develop a life that is centered around connection and understanding and camaraderie instead of division. Same with the Buddha. It's very practical to sit and meditate. It's very practical and quote unquote scientific in order to sit back in the observer role and observe what you're experiencing through the senses. He called them the sense gates. He also included the mind activity as a sense. He calls it the sixth sense gate, if I'm not mistaken, which is the mind activity, which is also input. It's input in the sense that it arises and is witnessed by the awareness. So like all of your senses, the five senses, plus the mind activity that goes along with it are able to be noticed and witnessed and observed by awareness, which is you. And this is a very practical approach as well. So I think that it would be great to have all walks of life understand that spiritual work isn't just to attain some sort of transcendent, mystical experiences or state of being, or even enlightenment, but it can be very helpful for improving your quality of life, to become more present, to become more internally at peace, downregulating how much your monkey mind is jumping all over the place through very practical and repeatable processes or practices. So part of that, as you're saying, is, looking at anger, looking at hurt, looking at disappointment, looking at grief, looking at fear, and integrating them, transmuting them. So I hope that comes across in my work. If it doesn't, I'd like to try to work that in a way that makes sense. That we're not trying to shun or push away these negative emotions, but we're trying to integrate them. Leah is saying, yes, I've been identified too much with labels and it kept me stuck. Yeah, that's about the MBTI stuff. That can happen. And it's like, it becomes more and more and more subtle the more you do the work. It starts off as things like, oh, I'm a type A personality. I'm this MBTI. I'm a go-getter, or I'm lazy, but then you relinquish these and notice that you're capable of much more, that you can do and be whoever you want to be. And then as you become comfortable in that sense, you can relinquish even more, that you do even have to be anything at all. And it's like this kind of ties back into what I was saying, like marrying the two domains of spirituality, spiritual work from the top down approach of like meditating, become very focused, very deep, transcending the thinking mind and the body, but also creating environments that are conducive to the work and to a higher quality of life in the first place. It's like you can do both at the same time. And that is the approach that is most beneficial, most fruitful. And I like in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna actually suggests that the most, the karma yoga. You don't have to become a renunciant. You don't have to go like from 0 to 1,000 right away. It's like a process. And brick by brick, the beautiful life that you want to live is built. Vivid Bits, can you possibly make these meditations longer and upload them somewhere? Your style is better than any other guided meditation I've tried. Wow, that's very, very nice of you to say. Well, I appreciate that you're saying these are better, at least for you. That's really, thank you so much for the feedback. It helps motivate me for sure. Yeah, I'm planning on making a meditation this week. I've just been dragging my feet on it, but I've been practicing with these guided meditations in the live stream. I know it works. I know, like, I'll listen back and see if I'm going too fast or too slow. And I think that I have enough, experience doing these ones now that I'm comfortable making a meditation. A longer one, I'll do a 15-minute one. I'll do a 30-minute one. I'll do focus meditation on the breath. I'll do scanning the body meditation for relaxation, and it'll be a work in progress. I'll start off maybe no background music. You guys can add whatever you want in the background. Maybe I'll make ones with rain sounds in the background. But yes, I will start, and we'll see them develop over time, into something that most people can get benefit from. So I appreciate it. I'll do my best this week to get one out. Vivid Bites. Do you believe or think that meditation like you guided but 1 hour a day can lead to reduction of ADHD symptoms? Or do you believe it to be fixed? I definitely don't believe that ADHD or any symptoms of anything psychological is permanent. I mean, nothing's permanent. On the the greatest scale possible, nothing's permanent. Everything arises and passes away eventually. My personal belief, I'm not a mental health professional or anything, but I think that many of our so-called psychological disorders or whatever, illnesses, whatever you want to call it, these things are really just a bundle of labels, like a basket of labels. You have the large label of ADHD, the large judgment of ADHD, and then in that you have, okay, can't sit still, can't pay attention, thoughts are like this or that, dopamine levels are like this or that, whatever they use to label each little label that goes into the bigger basket. Every single one of these things can be transcended, in my humble opinion. The reason I say it is because I have transcended every label, and you do eventually transcend every label. It just, it's a matter of willingness, of intention, of practice, of diligence, of discipline. And, that can be hard, quote unquote, for someone with the quote unquote label or title, diagnosis of ADHD, because they believe so thoroughly that they can't focus. And it's just, I don't know, I could go off. I could really go off. It's a product of our times. It's a product of our environment. Babies are handed phones. They're handed tablets. I mean, we're setting up children who turn into adults for failure and not success. You want them to focus, and yet you're handing your child a tablet. And it's just, there's a reason we're seeing more and more diagnoses or whatever of ADHD and things like this, autism, is because it's a system. Everything affects everything else. Parents are overworked and they're stressed, so then they hand their child a tablet or a TV screen or a computer or whatever, a phone, and then they're raised on that. They're not raised on being present. They're not raised, within an environment that's conducive to kind of being focused, being able to focus. So it's something that we actively have to resist. Things only change when we decide to change them. And I think that's a big, I don't know, there's like a big misconception in our society or culture and in general for people that something outside of them is going to suddenly save them. And, it's cultural for a reason. It's been around for a long time. I think even Christianity, in a sense, Jesus is a savior figure. God is something outside of us, and Jesus Christ is a savior figure that is meant to, basically be a superhero and swoop down and save us from everything, save us from the devil, save us from ourselves. We're terrible sinners and all this stuff. It's created a cultural paradigm, at least in the West, Christian cultures, that something outside of you is going to solve all your problems. If you pray to it correctly, or if you pray to it at the right time, in the right way, if you deserve it is a big one. If you're not, sinning too much. And then, culturally too, we have like the naughty nice list of Christmas and Santa Claus. Like there's all of these paradigms set up that create a self-perception of, less than, and something outside of us is going to suddenly fix it. And then, our government structures as well. There's a lot of people who believe in governance. They believe in institutions, and these things are going to help them. But what I've found throughout my life and looking around at the world, it doesn't really work that way. Each of these institutions are made up of individuals, and it matters. It matters a lot what these individuals care about, where their morality stands, how present they are, how much they genuinely know about themselves and others, especially themselves. Like, people are generally miserable, majority of people are generally miserable, which is a shame. And that's why I'm attempting to address that problem by showing these people who are generally miserable because they're in a system that doesn't help, and that they can actually take responsibility for their misery and their lives and make very, very actionable, practical changes to become happier. Like, on the whole, just a happier individual creates a happier family, creates a happier neighborhood, creates a happier city or community, creates a happier society, creates a happier culture. I have a dream, I have a vision, which would be incredible to actualize, where spiritual work, self-help, all of this stuff is like, it's very empowering, and it's given to us because it is ours. It's like made by us and for us. And we stop giving away all of our attention and power and ability over to some agency, government, institution, or even like otherworldly, supernatural, spiritual figure. We can take control of our lives, and we can make choices, and we can take action ourselves in order to improve our lives. And I would love to see a world where meditation is normal. It's not something that is relegated to spiritual people. It's normal to wake up in the morning and take 15, 20, 30, even an hour, minutes, an hour, to become present, lock in, relax, set the intention for the day. I also would love to see that mindfulness is not relegated to spiritual practitioners either. To be mindful, imagine how much your life would improve if you were with your kids and you weren't scrolling on your phone. You know how many parents I see scrolling on their phone when they're with their kids? Because they're stressed and they feel like they don't have any time to themselves and whatever. It doesn't matter the reason, but they feel like they need to escape from the present moment because they're so internally uncomfortable. That's the gist of it. That's the bottom line. Now imagine a world where everyone's taking responsibility, direct responsibility for how uncomfortable they feel, going into meditation, becoming aware of what's going on beneath their conscious awareness, and letting up and out all of the stuck emotional trauma, all of the emotional baggage, all of the labels, all of the self-hatred, all of the hatred towards others, all of the projections, becoming more present, more free of all that weight, all of that garbage that's been fed to them, and forgiving the system that put the garbage there in the first place, because that's part of the work. Forgiving the parents, forgiving the teachers, forgiving the pastor or priest or whoever, forgiving the school system, and letting it all go so you can start clean. Just wipe the slate clean and setting a new intention for your life, where you're only going to focus on what actually creates and sustains a positive environment for you, both internally and externally. I would love to see a world where this is normal, and it's not, you're not blaming the world constantly for your problems. You recognize where the problems may have originated. We were all once babies and we had no garbage whatsoever placed into us. If you believe in reincarnation and karma, you have a certain karmic setup already when you take incarnation. You have certain lessons you want to learn. But outside of that, we understand that parents put stuff into us, teachers put stuff into us, society puts stuff into us. Each of our cultures across the world has different, rules for what normal is, or how you're supposed to behave, or what you're supposed to look like. each one of these cultures has put stuff into us, down to the language we speak. And you can recognize that that was the case without being pissed off about it to the point of complete stagnancy, that you're just going to sit and rage and hate the world for the position you're in is never going to change anything about your life. So it's about empowering people and trying to empower them in a positive way, not blaming them at all, accepting them and allowing them to accept themselves, accept where they are, where they're at, and where they want to go, and then showing them in a very kind and compassionate way, these are the steps you can take to get there. And it would be incredible. And every time I do a video, every time I get on these live streams, I pray to God, I center in myself, and I ask to do the highest will possible, so that this can become real. It can come to fruition. So, yeah, I did go off. Sorry. I went on a huge tangent there. But let's see what else we got. I feel like I started talking about ADHD, and I don't know how I got on all that, but I hope that was inspiring at least, or something positive. Realize. This question is inspired by my observation of an archetype that is seen in fiction, a villain or an antagonist who is eerily spiritual, alternatively a hero that is purely ego-driven. Thank you, friend. Oh, I guess the question that you asked earlier. Yeah, no worries. I'm glad that I can answer your questions. Meditation helps a lot, Leah's saying. Wonderful. Vivid Bites wanted to hear me ramble. I'm glad. Thank you for encouraging that. Leah, yes, I've also been diagnosed with ADD, and as a child, as well as other mental illnesses, and I no longer identify with them. It was difficult for me to stop identifying because it was an interest of mine. Yeah, it's just like how I was really interested in MBTI. A little bit of I'll tell you a little bit of context for why I even feel comfortable talking about it, is because I actually had to, quote unquote, referring to, the persona, the ego, I had to engage in learning about MBTI, learning about personality types, learning about body language, learning about psychology, developmental theory at a young age in my mid-teens, because I didn't understand anything. I didn't understand people. I didn't understand anyone. I didn't understand how to interact with them. And I needed to use these things in order to develop social skills. And if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be who I am today, if it weren't for those systems, those frameworks. So I'm not knocking any of these personality type systems or psychology in general, how they, diagnose things or place things in frameworks or labels. They can be useful. But if you say, okay, I'm depressed and I've been diagnosed with depression, and then you just full stop, that's it. I am depressed. And you accept that as your reality, full stop, period, that's it. What good is it at all? It's not good at all. What's good about it is that you can say, a doctor can say to you, looks to me like you have depression. And then the next part is, here's what we can do about it so that you will no longer have depression. And that's its use, not creating a personality, a persona around any mental illness, quote unquote, and saying that's me forever. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I think anybody who takes 5 minutes to think about it knows that. But we get really comfortable. Most people get really comfortable, and they through their own naivete or ignorance. That's why Buddha said the source of all of our misery, our suffering, is ignorance. We believe that there's no way out, Sometimes I think it's a cop-out in a way. It's like some people just want to be miserable, and that's okay. You can get addicted to anger, you can get addicted to fear, you can get addicted to depression and grief, and it's okay that these things happen, but step back a moment and recognize that that does happen, and that may be happening to you, maybe not anybody in this audience, but it may be happening, and then make changes if you're actually serious about living a life that's more pleasant, that's more fulfilling. Everyone is able to choose. Everyone has their own right to choose what kind of life they live. But you hear a lot of complaining. You hear a lot of complaining and not a whole lot of action. It's kind of like put your money where your mouth is, or let's see you walk the talk sort of way. And that's my aim, to help create an environment where everyone can walk the talk, everyone can participate, and we can hold each other up when we falter. We can support each other and recognize that there's a whole group of people or whole community, eventually a whole culture or whatever, that is attempting to make their lives better and support other people in making their lives better. Jervid saying, why could it be that while watching your videos, it's way harder to sit still? Usually I don't have too much of a problem, but when trying to concentrate on the vids, my body rebels extremely hard. I don't know. It's sort of like a working theory for me, but I have noticed as I've done the work, as I've progressed, my impact on other people has changed. And this includes just a passive impact. Sometimes just being in, quote unquote, my presence, people can feel calmer. They can feel more at peace. They can feel sort of like an eminence that I have cultivated through my own work. It's really just I am open enough to express the light that is within all of us. But then there are others who it actually agitates them. And it agitates not them in truth, it agitates the part of them that is afraid of the presence. And there's no blame in that. It can be scary. It's scary to relinquish the framework of identity, aka the ego, that we've been so conditioned to believe in for so long. If you think about it, you've been trained since birth to depend on this sense of self, this self-image that has been coalesced, that has been painted, this picture that you and others have made for you to believe in. So when there's a challenge to that, it can get very uncomfortable. And that uncomfortableness can express through action. It can be expressed through the body, through speech. Maybe you're moving around a lot. It depends. There's a possibility that yo, Luke, good to see you. Glad you made it. There's a possibility that there are subconscious reservoirs of fear, angst, things that make quote unquote you uncomfortable. So they're being vented through physical behavior or action, such as fidgeting or moving around or having a hard time focusing. It's like a case by case basis, but I have been noticing a impact, whether it's like what you're describing or the alternative, where sort of peace or presence, calmness can be felt more readily. It's been fun. It's been interesting, as you do the work, things change, and it's just interesting to keep track of it, notice it, but don't cling to anything, of course. I think that I would say maybe you can investigate why it's hard for you to concentrate on the vids. Because maybe you're here because you know that they're good for you, or that you gain some positive insights or knowledge or whatever, some positive actionable practices that you can do. But at the same time, you're noticing a difficulty in focusing. So just meditate on that difficulty, meditate on the emotions, the feelings that are coming up, the raw emotional energy. If you're moving around, stop for a second, close your eyes, and witness, what is this really? Why am I moving? Why am I having a hard time focusing? And just become calmer, relax the mind, relax the body, become present and witness, observe. and you'll start to gain an impression of why it is that that's happening. And then just let it go, let it go, let it go as best you can each time. It'll get easier and easier and easier. And I guarantee you that this work will translate to other places as well. So it won't just be you're fidgeting less or having a hard time concentrating less on my videos, but it'll be throughout life in general and other places that this arises for you. It'll subside as you go within, as you witness, and as you let go. So Reika Tata, by any chance, do you follow on YouTube the channel Seeker to Seeker or Healthy Gamer GG? I feel like you are on the same zone as them. I really like your videos. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate that. I've heard of Healthy Gamer, I think. And I think I've heard of Seeker to Seeker. But I obviously don't follow them, or I would be able to tell you more definitively. But I think I've seen them around. And I'm pretty sure Healthy Gamer is like very practical about trying to get people out of their basements. You know what I mean? Like trying to get people off their booties and making positive change for themselves. He's like a doctor, right? I can't remember, but if that's the guy I'm thinking of, yeah, I like his content. It's very practical. It's very empowering. So it would be cool to eventually be able to connect with these types of people, you know, these other content creators. Yeah, he's a psychologist. Yeah. So I know of him. He's a cool guy. I'm glad that he's doing that kind of work. Definitely need lots more people attempting to empower others. And then we create a whole society where everyone's just helping each other, you know? Everybody's happy. It's great. Isino, you're something I thought about, but talking something amongst the lines of all people stop consuming so much videos, scrolling, live streams. Yeah, so that's what I was talking about earlier. If we could all just take, you know, even just breaks from it. It doesn't have to be cold turkey, even though cold turkey does really help. It's good to take breaks. Vivid Bites. I'm glad there are a lot of gems dropped. I appreciate that you appreciate it. Thank you. Isaiah Young. Instead of scrolling, I find myself just zoning out and imagining things. This could go on for hours. It's like an escape. Yeah, there's lots of things that we can use as subtle escapes. But I think that imagining, using your imagination is better than consuming, you know, mindlessly consuming, especially if you accidentally go down the rabbit hole where you're like looking at your phone, scrolling, and then 2 hours go by and you're like, whoa, what happened to the time? The reason is, at least through your imagination, it's all your product. You know, it's a product of your mind. You control what you're giving your attention to. But with the phone, and if you're scrolling mindlessly in particular, you're being programmed. Your attention is being hijacked and you're being programmed. Your subconscious mind is being fed a bunch of stuff that you're not choosing, especially if it becomes mindless, like you're just kind of zoning out into it. There's not a whole lot of discernment there. And that's part of the steps we can take as well. Deprogramming the mind includes not putting any more programs in that are deleterious to our happiness. So it's like the pulling of the weeds. When you go and harvest, you decide, you know, these are weeds, I don't want them anymore. And these are the crops I enjoy. These are the products. These are the flowers. This is what I'm going to focus on. Patty X. What if somebody seems to not care? Should I keep trying or let go? I often struggle with that from the point of view of all is one. Because if this is the case, then it seems to me we should try as hard for anyone as for ourselves. Well, I think jumps out at me here is the try part, because we're engaging in a work that is sort of like a balancing act of deliberate action, deliberate focus, deliberate presence, deliberate decision making in what we focus on, in what we intend for, and what we give our attention to. But at the same time, we're relinquishing any paradigm of trying, especially in the way that it creates strain. If it creates unneeded attachment and expectation where we're stressing about how much we're achieving and we're saying, well, I'm trying so hard, but I just can't do it. You just set up a paradigm there and a belief system where you're always going to be trying and you're never going to succeed. In that sense, you also don't want to be trying for other people. You're setting up a paradigm where all you see through the picture that you've made of reality is this person doesn't get it, this person doesn't care, and I have to try to get them to see it, to get them to care. We would be relinquishing that attachment to being that impactful, to achieving that end or achieving that goal, and instead doing the work, embodying the work ourselves, and then allowing whatever to happen to happen. If you end up being an example unto them, and they notice through exposure that, hey, you know what, they seem to be doing better, they seem to be happier, they're making changes in their life, maybe they'll reach out to you, maybe they won't, maybe they'll start making changes based on the example they see. They don't necessarily have to talk to you in order to notice what they might be doing that's making them not as happy as you are with the things you're doing. And I've noticed that in my own life. Other people who have done the work notice it in their lives. It's letting go of the attachment to the goal you're trying to achieve, and instead doing the work and relinquishing expectation, doing the work for yourself and allowing that which is to unfold with the intention that it be a positive. I talked once on a live stream about the difference between intention and expectation. Intention is important because it's where we're pointing the flashlight of our focus, of our attention. The intention, the will, that's the important part because that's what we're focusing on. Expectation, on the other hand, is having an attachment to the outcome of the intention. And we're told often, especially in Hinduism and Buddhism, not to relinquish attachment to the fruits of our labor, to relinquish attachment to the expectation that something be exactly as we want it to be. If you notice there, wanting something to be exactly as we want it to be is all ego. If you do the work, if you take the prescribed, meditations, mindfulness, what the doctor is telling you to do, say the Buddha or Krishna or Jesus Christ, then you take it and you let go of the end result being exactly the way you want because you trust that the culmination of what you're doing will end up in a better place than where you started. It's, as I've said before, like a balancing act of doing the work and relinquishing, doing the work and relinquishing. And we're developing, I've also been asked often, well, aren't you doing these things through ego? Yes, you're utilizing your ego to dismantle the ego. Makes a lot of sense. It's fine to point that out. But as the Buddha said, he's given you a raft called the Dharma. The raft is of this world. You will use the raft to cross from this shore of unenlightenment to the shore of enlightenment. Once you reach the far shore, you can get off the raft. You can dismantle the raft. You no longer need the raft. But while you're here and while you're doing the work, the raft is obviously necessary. How else will you reach the other side? It's like another analogy is the ladder. As you climb the ladder, well, isn't the ladder a concept? Isn't ladder, it's a bunch of practices? Aren't I doing that through the ego? Yes, you're doing it through the ego, and yes, it's a concept. But if you're standing here and you want to be up there where the top of the ladder leads to, you're going to have to climb it, aren't you? Now, another question you'll get asked back is, well, the ladder's not there and neither is the 2 points. You're actually standing still the whole time. That's all well and good to understand that intellectually, but if you really mean that, we're going to stop having this conversation right now and you're going to embody that truth to the point where it becomes realized. So if you want to say that, if we want to focus on that intellectually, that's one thing. But if you're serious about the work, you're going to drop all of this theoretical talk, this intellect talk, and just be enlightened. If you're so, just be enlightened if you're so smart. And that's what sometimes the ego needs to hear. Just be enlightened if you're so smart about it. I hope you can hear the irony in that, the humor. So The ego is tricky. It'll stop us from making progress through many means, and especially through the intellect, because the intellect can be very like sly. It knows how to work its way around things through its intelligence. Rect, good evening. Good evening, all. Good to see you again, Rect. Glad you're here. Thank you for stopping by. Hello, Turkey. I just saw you drop a message. Hello. Let's go see what's next. Realize, do you have anything to say about our more human or adult bodily needs and the constant chase around them? Human adult body, like eating food, needing shelter and clothing. Is that what you mean? Maybe desire of objects in the world, things that make us more comfortable. All of these things are completely fine. You know, I'm wearing a shirt right now. I'm underneath a roof that's keeping me dry. It's raining outside. And I'm not, you know, you can either, I can either decide to be a renunciate, only wear a loincloth and carry around a little piece of pottery to eat food from that I beg from other people. But then I would be thrown in jail because our culture is not, you know, I'm not in India right now and I can't behave like that without being called a crazy person. So I'm working within the bounds of the situation and the culture I'm in right now. Now, when I need to eat food, I eat food the same way that your pet, when it's hungry, it goes to the bowl and it eats food. When I get thirsty, I go drink water the same way that your pet walks to the water dish and drinks water. Actually, I've been wanting to make a video on how your house cat is the Zen Master. If you recognize that, you will learn a lot from your house cat if you have a cat. Maybe the same as with a dog. You know, I don't have a dog, but, you know, watch the birds. They are your Zen Master. Watch the animals. They are your Zen Master. They are completely content being what they are without labeling anything, with no ego structure. When they're hungry, they eat. When they're thirsty, they drink. When they sleep, when they need rest, they sleep. When they need to move or stretch, they move or stretch. You know, they're not thinking about it constantly. And if they want something from you, they ask for it. You know, they meow at you or they bark at you. It's this is the intellect. And it can be our greatest tool, but also our greatest downfall when it comes to this work. Username here. Good to see you again. I recognized your username. I've been practicing letting go almost consistently. I'm mainly doing it for fear, but every time I do it, it doesn't feel like the reservoir is decreasing, you know? How do I know if it's the reservoir is reducing? The short answer is you don't really know until you know. And I've experienced exactly what you're talking about many times, where it feels like you're working on a predominant emotional energy for days and days and days, weeks and weeks and weeks, even months and months and months. But consistently now, I have recognized, I've experienced that if you do the work, it is not wasted and you are making progress. It's sort of, this is the element of the work that takes a trust or like a faith. And as you do the work, you recognize a pattern that no matter how long it takes, eventually there is a release. So I'm really glad you're doing the work. I commend you for that effort, and I'm here to support you. If you need to like talk about it, we can have a call. But other than that, you're already doing it. Like, just have faith, trust yourself, trust the process. And there will be sort of a culmination of this work. I can't tell you exactly what that will be, because for me and for everybody else that I've talked to throughout this, you know, practice or work, it's been different. Sometimes I feel like a great relief. Sometimes it's like a bubbling in my energy body somewhere where something just dissolves and it's gone. And then I'm not worried about it anymore, or I don't feel it, or I don't think it, what have you. Sometimes it's a random Satori moment. I'm focusing on letting go of a innate hum of energetic fear beneath the surface day after day after day. And then suddenly I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm consumed by unconditional love, and I only see and perceive unconditional love, and I feel that fear completely dissolve. So there's a varying degree of what may or may not happen as a result of the work, but the underlying consistency is that the fear is lessening, and there will be discernible and palpable, very, very real symptoms of the lessening of that fear. You may not notice it as starkly as some other, experiences, but say suddenly you recognize that you're not afraid to do something you used to be afraid of, or there's not as much anxiety around something, maybe public speaking, or being funny or silly around others, or saying what's on your mind, or sitting in silence, or going somewhere by yourself. You'll recognize in retrospect that, hey, I used to be terrified of doing this, or it used to really bother me. When you're working with these emotional energies, what changes is the behaviors that come out of them. So sometimes it's not as simple as noticing a very stark change all of a sudden, like a snap of a finger. It's in retrospect, you notice that, wow, I have made a lot of progress because my behavior, my compulsive behaviors have changed drastically. Also, it's interesting because you're thinking about it now because it's on your mind and it's affecting you. When you finally let it go, you won't be thinking about it anymore. It won't be affecting you. It won't be on your mind. So you won't even notice. It'll be a sort of aha moment of retrospect, like, oh, I used to spend all my time caring about this thing that I don't care anymore about. It's because you did the work. And it's a subtle process, but it does work. So I commend you for that, and keep going. Like, just keep going. Don't give up. Keep going. The ego will try and convince you to give up. Don't give up. Do not give up. You're doing wonderful. You're doing a great job. Tofu Durzixi. How much you sure about the thing we termed as liberation, or so is the ultimate truth? Only ultimate truth, like maybe this is an illusion too. I'm sure of the ultimate truth within the context of the human life. So am I sure that there's not something outside of this human life, this human realm, this physical domain? No. I have no idea what comes next. But I am sure that what truth refers to with a capital T, which is, God realization or enlightenment or full attainment, or that this is an illusion or complete liberation, all that kind of stuff, I am certain of that within the context of our experience now. It's like, imagine a child believes that there's a boogeyman or a monster in the closet or under the bed and is screaming out for you, daddy or mommy, come here. I'm scared. And you walk in the room and they go, there's a monster in the bed and there's a monster in the closet. And you say, there's no monster there. And you're trying to reassure them, there's no monster there. I promise you. And you look under the bed and you try and convince them to look under the bed with you. You get the flashlight. You go through all the steps that you know how to be compassionate and present with them and show them the truth of the situation. Now, in the end, they may believe you and they may calm down. They may go to sleep, or they may have some sort of hesitancy, some skepticism. Maybe the monster went away just because they came in the room, but the monster's still under the bed. The monster's still in the closet. How do I know? Or maybe the kid doesn't believe you at all and is going to be afraid of that monster under the bed or in the closet until the day they die. Or until the day they figure out for themselves there was never any monster. This, it's a very similar situation. I am trying to help people realize that there's no monster under the bed, and it's up to you. Like I'm not interested in forcing anybody to believe anything. I'm not interested in convincing anybody of anything. All I'm interested in is offering what I understand that will help other people live a more pleasant life while they're here. And if they want to accept that, they can. The child is going to have a more pleasant time sleeping if they can accept the reality I'm trying to share with them, that there is no monster under the bed or in the closet. But if they decide that as soon as I leave the room, the monster's back, or that I was never telling the truth in the first place, it's their life they're living. It's their sleep they're going to get. If they have a fearful sleep, it's their prerogative. And the thing about it is, it's not completely taken on faith. The parent says, here, come open the door with me and look in the closet, or here, look under the bed with me, I'll bring the flashlight. You don't have to take my word for it. You can figure it out for yourself. That's the best part about this. That's the best part about what Krishna taught, what Buddha taught, what Jesus taught. You can look within and you can discover the truth with a capital T for yourself. I'm just here to tell you it's there. I'm here to tell you about it. And if you want to, realize that, you can. So, in that sense, I am aware that, death is not real, quote unquote. Like the body does expire. It gets to, the cells break down for some reason, either spiritually or, of course, scientifically with the biology of things. Entropy eventually takes over and you can't sustain the body anymore. It no longer sustains you. The heart stops, the brain stops, the lungs stop breathing, whatever it is. Your immune system breaks down too much to sustain you, sustain the body rather, and then it quote unquote dies, but you don't die. You don't die. The real you doesn't die. The interesting part is, if I say you don't die and someone says, of course I die, I'm like, are you the body? Are you the body? And I can get them, you can usually get them to agree, like, well, I'm not really the body. And they're like, well, how do you die then? And they're like, well, my brain stops, so then I stop being. And then you just have to be like, well, if you meditate enough, or if you research astral projection, or out-of-body experiences, or near-death experiences, or achieve it for yourself through grace of God or practice, you'll notice that you don't actually die. It's just your localized awareness is no longer localized in or on this experience. You experience something else. That's why they talk about hells or heaven. You go to the other experience. It's a hell because you go to the frequency of experience that your consciousness or your energy resonates with. So if you've done a lot of quote unquote hellish stuff, thought a lot of hellish things, carry around a lot of hellish energy, you're going to go there. And what is hell? It's just a place where you suffer. So people can suffer in hell while alive on earth. And then where's heaven? It's just a place where you are happy and joyous and everything is wonderful and quote unquote perfect. You can perceive a perfect world right now. You can be in heaven on earth. And when you quote unquote die, when the body expires and you experience something else, you can experience heaven. Because you carry and perpetuate and sustain and cultivate heavenly energies, thoughts, emotions, a heavenly presence. You go to the place that is resonant with you. So just like you go to the place that is resonant with you here. If you're an angry person, you're going to see an angry world. If you're a loving person, you're going to see a loving world. So they're not really two different places. Your experience changes. You no longer experience a physical body. That's basically it. Maddie, I've noticed a pattern in myself. I often feel mindful before sleep at night, but after waking up, I forget about mindfulness and my ego starts haunting me. Yeah. Any thoughts? Yeah, I understand. It can be, it's a practice, Practice makes perfect. It's a good saying for this one. Practice makes perfect. Every morning when you wake up, instead of maybe what you do is you grab your phone or you roll out of bed right away, just take a few moments to become present, meditate, close your eyes, notice the environment, notice your body. Maybe there's birds chirping outside, notice them, and set the intention. I will be more present today. And if you'd like to, you can even say a prayer if you believe in a higher power. God, in the way that you understand God, I ask for your assistance in being more present today. And then just allow that intention to carry you. And remember or remind yourself of it whenever you have a moment. You're like, oh, I'm trying to be more present today. And then don't beat yourself up if you weren't present before that thought. Just be more present. Hopefully that helps, because it's a practice. Practice makes perfect. And as you practice, you'll become, quote unquote, more perfect. And then you'll be asking me other questions. You'll get stuck on something else. And then I'll tell you, hey, you're doing great. Just keep doing it. You're doing a wonderful job. Luke the Crow, I've been wondering what you mean with doing the work in more concrete terms, to be honest. In more concrete terms. Sorry, I thought it was okay. Doing the work in more concrete terms is all of the work that we talk about. So meditation daily. I hope all of you have a daily meditation. I hope you're waking up in the morning and then meditating for 10, 15, 30 minutes, if not longer, if you can. I am from Canada. How'd you know? And I hope you're meditating at night. I hope you're meditating, for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes before bed. I hope you're taking time to do the work in the sense that when you do dishes, you're going to go, when I do dishes this time, I'm going to be mindful. What does the water feel like? What does the soap feel like? What does it smell like? What's it sound like? Maybe you're petting your cat or your dog and what does my cat or dog really look like? Do I ever look them in the eyes and be present? Do I ever look at their teeth? What are they like? What are the movements are they making? The dog is panting or the wagging its tail, or can I feel its presence with me? How present can I be? And then how much presence can I give this person, this pet, this activity? So that's part of the work. It doesn't have to be continuous. Eventually it will be, because that is the quote unquote work. It's to be present, to be mindful, to be compassionate. So then, what's the next work? Are you doing a loving kindness meditation here and there? Are you forgiving when moments come up that you have an opportunity to forgive? Are you forgiving yourself when opportunities present themselves to be forgiven? Are you letting go of ego positionalities? Like, I can't stand red cars. They're all so ugly. I wish they were green. Are you able to let that go? Are you doing the work? So this is what I mean by the work. It's everything we talk about and everything we're trying to implement into our lives so that we can reach the higher goal of love, presence, compassion, forgiveness, eventually unconditional love. And if you really want to strive for it, it'll happen whether or not you want to anyway, because it's all karma, it's all grace, enlightenment. That's the work. And you're doing it. You just keep reminding yourself, why am I doing this again? Oh, because I want to be happy. Because I want to be happy. So hopefully that helps. Gurvid. Hope you guys can hear me. I'm going over top of my mic now. I've tried garden cultivating, planting seeds as you described. I would find a seed, concentrate, and I get a blank mind and a heaviness or hurt in my brain until it stops. Till I stop or it stops. Is this normal? I don't really know what this is describing, but I can describe the cultivation process. The cultivation process is noticing the weeds. So the weeds might be, you suck and you'll never amount to anything. Who said that? That was a weed. I don't like that. Let it go. I'm pulling that weed and I'm not going to focus on that inner monologue ever. That's garbage. That is not something I want in my garden. So things like that. What's a flower? Or what's cultivating the fruits? Presence. Oh, I feel very present right now. Maybe you're sitting outside, maybe you're at a beach, maybe you're on a park bench, maybe you're walking down the street, and you just notice for a moment how beautiful trees are. That's a flower. That's a wonderful crop you're going to want. Just sit in that for a moment. Cultivate that. How long can I notice the beauty of the trees? I notice this crop, I'm going to cultivate it. And then when you want to plant new things, so these are the things that are already coming up, the weeds and the crops. You want to plant new things. And this can get into the reality creation stuff, but it also has to do with perception and projection. I really want to experience It could be something as vague as I want to be more happy each day. I want to be more present each day. You hold the intention for being more present, being more happy. I am more present. I am more happy. And then cultivate gratitude within yourself, in your chest for that. I am more happy and more present. I'm more happy and more present. I'm more happy and more present right now just because I said that. So now I have gratitude for this moment because I'm more happy and I'm more present. I've decided to be more happy and more present right now. You are impressing upon your subconscious through active intention and attention on that intention right now to achieve that end. That is you planting it. You watering it, you tending to it, is you continuously returning to that intention and giving it more of your love, more of your attention, more of your focus, more of your time. You know, maybe you want, now this gets into the reality creation stuff. Maybe you're like, I really want to find, I really want like $100 in my wallet or something, or I really want, I don't know, I really want like a free meal. This is when you access the part of yourself that you may not even be aware of, which influences and generates your experience in life. You would envision, as best you can, the experience of like, okay, I get a free coffee or free meal or whatever it is. I'm starting small because most people like, you know, it feels like there's big and small manifestations, but it's all the same. So let's say free meal or free coffee. You're going to focus on what it's like to experience the free coffee. And then you're going to have gratitude. You're going to like, oh, I'm drinking the coffee. So grateful that this is free. I didn't even have to pay for it. You're impressing upon your subconscious mind because it doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. The experience of being grateful for having received rightfully, you know, no bad stuff going on, just a free coffee. And then you allow that to be true. Like you just allow that. Like I experience having a free coffee. Don't resist it. Don't ask questions. Don't like confuse it. You're doing this as an exercise to impress upon your mind a new seed so that can manifest. And then later when it's like, where's that coffee? I thought I was supposed to have a free coffee by now. No, that's a weed. That you're digging up the seed by doing that. You want to drop that right away and just go, no, I got the free coffee. I feel really good about it. I'm very grateful. You could just let go of the wantingness. And this is something that Dr. Hawkins talks about in his Letting Go book as well. When you let go of the energy of desire, then you can experience what you do desire because you're no longer setting up an energy field that is all desire. I really want the coffee. Well, you're going to experience more of wanting the coffee. You're not going to experience having the coffee because you're constantly wanting it. It's as if I told you, what's it feel like to have a phone right now? Or what's it feel like to have a foot? You know, everyone has a foot. Maybe not everyone has a phone. You're going to be like, I just have a foot. I don't know. I don't really think about it that much. I don't want one. I have one. You know, what's it like to have a phone? I don't really think about that much. I can just reach over and pick it up and scroll on it if I want. I can make a phone call. I can take a note. I don't think about it all that much. Well, if you had a free coffee, you wouldn't think about it all that much. And I hope you can see where this is going. Like your life becomes a perpetual cultivation where you're focusing on the things you actually want to experience, both through projection by developing an ego that is not, you know, full of crap. And you can actually experience things you want to experience by impressing upon the subconscious mind the intention for it. It's a really, really cool game that's going on down here on the physical plane. You know, it's really fun when you get the hang of it. It's really interesting. It's really fascinating. This is a school. You are learning lessons. You're basically learning the overarching lesson of how to love, how to be present, how to love yourself, how to love others, how to, you know, engage in deliberate choices that, you know, direct attention and intention towards things that are non-deleterious to life, but instead life-giving, life-creating, life-sustaining. So it's really cool. And I hope everybody can eventually this becomes normal. It's not like a spiritual thing. It's just normal to focus on positive stuff. I mean, why shouldn't it be, right? All right, that was a long answer to that. Realize, just be enlightened, bro. Stop talking about it so much. Just be enlightened. Needs that involve two people. Oh, like the adult needs. Oh, I understand. The adult needs. Well, you eventually relinquish the craving for that as well. And it's it's one of the more the later things to go, I think, for most people. Um, you There's a really great story. I can't remember, but it's basically like this prince and this daughter of a wise sage, and it's like a Hindu story. The wise sage has a daughter that he adopted because she was like a orphan or whatever, and she grew up with him and learned about all of the knowledge, the truths and stuff. And then the prince meets her by accident while riding out on his horse, and he wants to marry her, and they get married. Long story, whatever. And he wants to party. He's a prince. He wants to party. He wants to have lovely food and guests and belly dancers and trumpets and this little sitar thing or whatever, all the instruments and like these parties and all this cool stuff. And she is very like stoic. And sometimes he asks her like, you don't seem like you're having very much fun, and I want to do this with you and for you. And she says, well, all of this is impermanent, and I am completely content just being within myself and all this stuff. And she starts to kind of like drip feed him the knowledge that she learned throughout a lifetime with her wise sage adopted father. And eventually the concept comes up of like, you never even want to do the deed with me. You don't even seem like you're interested in, that sort of adult activity as you're asking about. And she says, well, what do you see in this that's so desirous? Just think about all the liquids that come out of this body, and at what times and at what places, and how much you actually desire those things. And she basically goes down this like very, you could say, crude list of describing what the body actually is. And she says like it'll decay. It's decaying right now at a very slow rate. It'll be old someday. These breasts that you love so much will eventually be like, they look like this and all this stuff. And he like, it just dawns on him the ephemeral nature of his desires, including the desire for his wife in that way. And eventually the moral of the story, the end of the story, is that he also becomes, on the path. Like he dedicates himself to the path, stops engaging in all the sense activities that he used to, like, parties and belly dancers and delicious, extravagant meals and all this sort of banquets and buffets and elephants and all the, everything that a super rich prince would have in India. So the story is showing you that everything that you are desirous of is fleeting, will eventually pass away, and your ability to even perceive them in that way will pass away. And with that knowledge, you're able to eventually die before you die. And that's like the great wisdom or whatever, die before your physical body dies. Realize the truth of what you are before this incarnation ends, because it's an opportunity to use this incarnation to that end. So it's not like you necessarily have to become a renunciant, and you don't have to take this story literally and like incorporate it into your own life. But it's a good analogy. It's a good little story to help recognize these earthly desires, as Isino just said. Earthly desires, yes. Turkey, I have a question. When I try to face my emotions, they literally go numb every time. I find it so difficult to access them. Any help? I'd have to understand what you mean by face. But let's say a fear comes up suddenly. Who knows what it is? You have to take the bus somewhere, or you have to do a job interview, or you have to go to school, or like the girl or guy you have a crush on walks into the room, or I don't know, maybe you're like a grown adult not in school right now. Maybe you have to have a tough conversation with a family member. Maybe, I don't know, anything. Something cause you to experience fear. It can be a residual anxiety. It could be a stark terror. It doesn't matter. It's fear. When you experience it, you'll know you're experiencing it because you're like, I'm afraid right now. You might start talking about how you're afraid. You'll feel afraid. Your stomach might be in knots or butterflies or whatever. When you stop what you're doing, talking, moving, venting the energy through your physicality, through your voice, and witness the energy of fear, you're going to stop, say, I'm really afraid of this job interview. My stomach is in butterflies and queasy. I'm sweating. I can't focus. All I'm thinking about is what if I fail? All right. I'm going to drop the idea that I'm going to fail and let that go. I'm just going to drop any idea or notion or thought about how this might go or how it might go wrong or what I need from it. First, that's the first layer. Then, what's the next layer? The butterflies in my stomach. All right, I'm going to stop calling them butterflies. I'm going to stop calling it a stomach. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to focus on the breath. And I'm just going to witness the energy as it is with no labels and no judgment. The energy that I'm experiencing, and maybe you start off by calling it in the stomach, is not bad. It's not inherently a bad thing. It's just happening. The thoughts that arise are not true. What if I fail? This is what's going to happen. They're not true. I can let those go. Every time they come, you go back to the breath and observe. You're observing the energy wherever it is. Observe the energy wherever it is. And soften and relax and let go. And soften and relax and let go. And then it might get really intense because you're not resisting it anymore. It might start like flooding up. And you just keep the poise like a rock solid. But you don't have to literally be rock solid. Just like your concentration on being dispassionate about your observation is solid. You are determined. And you're letting it up, and you're letting it out, and you're letting it go. If you're going numb during this process, I don't know what you mean by numb, because you might mean like your thoughts have stopped, or you don't feel it anymore, in the stomach or in the body. But if you're dealing with emotional energy, there's going to be something there. If you feel like there's nothing, it's a perceptual bias. So step back into the observer role and scan the body and feel it. You're like, I don't feel anything. And then say maybe you're really tense and I touch your shoulder. I'm like, you're very tight right now. Do you feel how tight your muscles are? No, I'm not tight at all. I'm relaxed. Well, you can see how a perceptual bias can like block us from seeing something. So this might be the thing that you're calling numb. So it would just take further investigation, further patience, further practice, and opening your mind. Don't tell yourself this isn't working, or I don't see anything, or I don't feel anything, or nothing's happening, or I'm doing this wrong. Let go of all of this mind activity. Letting go is like a constant position. It's a constant attitude. So don't hold on to anything like, I'm so numb right now, it's not working. Let go of that. So maybe that's where you need to start. I literally go numb and I can't do it, or it's too difficult. I'm going to let go of this notion that's too difficult. I'm going to let go of the notion of numbness. I'm going to be present. I'm going to let go. I'm going to let go. I let that go. Be present. So maybe just focus on meditation at the nostrils. This numbness happens, let that go. And through this practice, it'll change. It'll evolve. And then let me know how that goes. It's sort of like everything's a case-by-case basis. It's based on what you understand. It's based on where you're at with the practice. And when you try these things, you can come back to me, comment on a video, or send me a message through the link in the description, or even join the Discord group. And you can let me know how this works out. We can go from there. Luke the Crow, isn't that because animals literally can't think like we do? I don't think animals can be all that conscious considering they're survival machines. Yeah, so this is about the Zen. I have 2 dogs. I have 2 dogs, and I can say he's the Zen Master. One is a Zen Master, and the other one is not a Zen Master. While the contemplation of the animal is precisely because they don't have an intellect and a thinking mind that's making everything so complicated. When I witness my cat sitting on the bed, lying there, the first ego positionality that might arise is like, it's great not to have to do anything and be taken care of, you know? Why can't I rest like that? Or why, I can't relax like that. All of those are ego positionalities. It's nice to be taken care of and not have to do anything. You are taken care of and you're not doing anything. The irony in that is so funny. Like, you were born, you didn't have to do anything about it. Your body was born, you were put in this incarnation, you don't have to do anything about it. Your lungs are breathing, you don't have to do anything about it. Your heart is beating, you don't have to do anything about it. You're fed by your parents, you don't have to do anything about it. And then go a step further. You're like, well, I had to get an education and I had to get a job. I had to do these things. You didn't, though. You took on the role of someone who had to do all these things in order to achieve these end results. But if you detached from the experience of doing this quote unquote work through the body, you would observe, all right, the body is walking to school now. It's sitting on a chair. It's paying attention. It's taking notes. And I surrender to the process. So I can say that I'm talking to you right now, or I can step back and say, there is talking happening and I'm witnessing the talking happen. I don't have to think about what's coming next. I don't have to care about what's coming next. It's happening on its own. And as I allow it to happen, I can relinquish even more control, relinquish more and more and more and more control. And you'll notice, I notice even now, a fear starts to arise, a very subtle fear. What if I don't have any control though? What will be said? That's part of the work. Just let go, allow it to unfold, and you'll begin to recognize you're not who you think you are. And this feeling like I need to do so much in order to even just be is a false paradigm. It's a belief system, and it's basically the core of the ego. Like, the ego takes credit for everything. It takes credit for every thought you have, except for the bad ones. It'll tell you, you are the one who had that thought. You're the one who hates yourself. It's like, oh, you're the one who, failed that test. You're the one who's too stupid. You're the one who's too lazy. You're the one who, I'm none of those things. I'm here behind all of this nonsense happening, and I don't want it anymore. I don't have to give it my attention. If you're watching a TV show and it sucks, are you going to change the channel or what? If you're watching a movie, even if you're in the theater, you already paid the $12 or whatever it is for the ticket. You're gonna sit there and suffer through it. You're just gonna get up and walk out. That's what more of us need to do to the ego and to the egos of other people. But you do it in like a resolute, firm, but compassionate way. I'm not interested in playing this game. And it's okay that you keep feeding me this trash, self-hatred, self-doubt, anxiety, whatever. But I'm not interested in actually receiving it from you anymore. So it's falling on deaf ears in a sense. And I'm just going to let it go. I'm not interested. Something really, really cool that the Buddha said once is that someone comes to you and they enter your home, and it's customary to bring a gift. If they bring a gift to you and you don't want it, they're in your home and they've come to visit you. You don't have to accept it. So if someone comes into your home, whether it's your own mind or somebody else, it comes into your space, into your awareness, and is handing you a gift of fear or anger, shame, guilt, grief, I don't want that gift. I'm okay without that one. Thank you so much for bringing it to me, for having the thought, for considering me and this gift, but I don't want it. You're welcome to still be here. You don't have to give me that gift. You can keep it. And that's that. That's really what you're doing. Minor KC, hi, I'm neurodivergent and still interested in being enlightenment. Can you give advice on how I should handle therapists and issues like medication? Do they hinder my path to enlightenment? They hinder your path in as much as you let them. So you can take medication and you can observe the body take the medication. You can go to a therapist and you can observe yourself at the therapist. You can observe the therapist. You can observe what comes up for you within the awareness from the subconscious mind whenever you open the bottle of pills, whenever you look at the label, when you're about to take one. What do you feel about it? If there are negative emotions that you don't want to perpetuate anymore, you let them go. You start relinquishing all judgments and positionalities about the pill. And eventually you're just taking a pill with absolute nonchalant acceptance and neutrality. And then eventually you keep doing the work, and you love the pill. And you look at the pill and it's glowing with an unconditional beauty and love that emanates from God itself. And you take the pill and you chuckle at the beauty of how the pill was made and what it's for and its intention and how it helps the body. And, so the pill in this sense is a metaphor for everything. You're relinquishing as much as you can all of the programs and conditioning that creates a world that you don't want to live in. I mean, if you want to live in the world that you're currently in, you can live in it. And if you want to change it, you can change it. That's all I've ever offered with what I'm teaching. And so in that sense, it doesn't really matter if you're ADHD, ADD, neurodivergent, autistic, PTSD, OCD, all of these things are still something happening within awareness that you can observe. And you just got a situation that's unique to you. There's no point in saying this is worse or better off than anybody else. There's no point in refusing to do any of the mindfulness, meditation, forgiveness, compassion, letting go, surrender type work just because you are quote unquote set up this way. That's part of the work, letting go of all these ideas that you're set up this way. You're not set up anyway. You're completely benign and perfect just as you are. There's nothing wrong with you whatsoever. And it's something you come to recognize, something you come to realize. You're absolutely perfect, made in God's image, made in God's imagination. Your awareness is given to you by God itself, and there's nothing wrong with awareness. How could there be anything wrong with awareness? You can make up a story about a picture that paints it as wrong. Like I paint a story, it's a circle, it's a red circle. And then I go, red circles suck. They're really awful. I can't stand red. It's a terrible color. I wish red would just be more like blue. It's cousin blue. And then I make a blue circle on a picture and I go, I love blue. What a wonderful color. It's the sky. It's the color of the sky and everyone loves the sky. Red is the color of, I don't know, flesh. I don't know. And flesh is bad, okay? And the sky is good. You just made up you made up two pictures, made up a story about both those pictures, compared them against each other, divided them against each other. And if these pictures both had personalities and emotions, you just hurt the red guy and you made the blue guy feel really good. And you pit them against each other. You created a system of jealousy, and all of that was like made up. You see a picture of the world. You don't actually see the world the way it really is. And what we're doing is we're relinquishing the belief in that picture. So, just to handle therapists, be present with the therapist, witness the therapist, witness your time with the therapist. To handle medication, witness the medication, witness the emotions that arise about medication, let them go. None of this will hinder your path. This is your path. Kay made it. It's good to see you again. Kay made it. This time I'm not going to ignore your question. Hey, been seeing something called EFT trending recently. Emotional freedom technique has something to do with tapping on the body to release stored tension. Do you think there's anything to it? Oh, it's like there's like this thing tapping. You tap the chest right there or whatever. I've done it before. You can tap the face or whatever. I think that it has to do with the meridians. I think it has to do with the meridian lines and tapping. If you go to an acupuncturist, they're placing needles in the meridians to reactivate, re-energize the flow of your vital force, your vital energy through the meridians. And I think tapping is essentially the same thing. All of these systems are useful. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say all of them, but the meridian system is useful. The chakra system is useful. The tapping is useful. Humming is useful. Cognitive behavioral therapy is useful. Exposure therapy is useful. Jumping up and down, shaking your arms around, somatic release is useful. These things are useful because they're they're either addressing an unseen world, say the meridians, like you don't actually see the meridians. But if you focus, I've been in deep meditation, I have felt the meridians clear as day. I know how they map them. It's like I meditate and then suddenly I notice the meridians. And I go, oh, this is how they map them out. In deep meditation, they discover the meridians and then they tested and tested. And eventually the ancient Chinese system of the meridians and acupuncture was born, was made. And same with the chakras. I can feel the chakras in deep meditation, and you can focus on them and you can energize them. And they're there because they've been witnessed to be there by enough people to create a consensus, map. Same with this tapping thing. If it's helping people, and it seems to be probably based on the meridian system, on the energy system, then it's useful and helpful for those people where they're at. Eventually, it's just like the raft. It's all the raft. If you reach the other shore using your raft, you won't need the raft anymore. So I hesitate to say that everything is useful all the time. It's like, hello, Kaya. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming. Little heart emojis. Those are nice. And anyway, I hesitate to say they're all useful all the time, because you can kind of led down the primrose path on certain things. But ultimately, if you keep an open mind and you're honest with yourself about whether or not something's working, if it seems like it's long-term, like it's useful long-term, it's helping you get the results you're looking for, and you're open to the evolution of further understanding, progress, and development on what you use in terms of tools and practice, then there's really not a whole lot of harm. But you have to be open-minded, and you have to be willing to go with the flow of the development of your own emotional and spiritual world, your own emotional and spiritual situation. So it's like some people have brought up, these conditions like ADHD, ADD. If you're open-minded to practice this work and allow those things to fall by the wayside on their own as you naturally progress, then there was never a whole lot wrong with having a therapist or taking medication, but you allowed yourself to develop on a natural course based on your own propensities, skills, and practice, where maybe the medication was no longer necessary. If you're depressed and you're no longer depressed, do you need to take medication anymore? No, you stop taking it. And you're open to that. You're not married to and attached to the identity of being a depressed person who has to take these meds in order to feel better. So it's a process. All of this is a process. And just don't get too attached to anything. You're allowing things to unfold the way they're unfolding, including your own development, especially your own development. Turkey is saying, I had a liberating experience once after a breakdown and saw for myself how much of what I was scared of was only a delusion. It didn't last, but I'm working towards going back to that state gradually. Yes. Sometimes it takes incredible trauma or some intense experience to have a revelation take place. One of the easiest examples is like a near-death experience. Someone has literally died, but they didn't actually die. They left the body. They watched the death happen. They watched people freak out, and they got to experience unconditional love and maybe a life flashback, maybe a conversation telepathically with some other consciousness or other entities. And then they come back and their life is changed. It took that incredibly traumatic experience of dying to witness and attain that revelation. Same with, breakdown, like you're talking about. You have a very intense emotional breakdown, and then sometimes through the grace, just pop out of the experience and witness, whoa, none of this is real. None of this is actually real. Like the fear, you said it's a delusion. It's an illusion. The fear is not real. All fear is an illusion, and it's a fact. All fear is an illusion. Vivid Bites, do you believe we go to the place after dying based on the energy we have at the time of dying, or where we were most often during life? It's a what you're thinking about, what you have your attention on, as you die is not going to hurt, of course. But it's just like how I've had experiences of complete blissful unconditional love, but am I completely blissed out and incapacitated through that right now? No, I am residing at a lesser energy or lesser frequency than that, but I have experienced much higher states. This is relatively speaking. I've also experienced sudden bouts of anger or fear or grief, existential dread, loneliness. Does that necessitate going to a realm or an experience that is predominantly those things? No, because I bounced back to a general baseline of being present and calm and at peace and comfortable and loving. So it has to do with your predominant emotional and energetic state. If you cultivate a life that is loving and compassionate, you're going to go to a place and experience something that is compassionate and loving and present. If you live a life that's extremely angry, you're always angry, you're always yelling, you're always full of that anger, expressing that anger, experiencing that anger from other people and other things, getting angry about other things, other people, then you're going to go to a place that is filled with that anger. You might be an angry person and experience sometimes fear or grief, or sometimes you'll experience love or compassionate. But if your predominant energy is that of anger, you're going to experience more anger. Fisherman, no, first name's username. Oh, first name's surname. Oh, okay. These are really creative usernames. We have a username here, now we have first name, surname. Why God seems to don't want to own the body that nature's providing. Own the body that nature's providing. I feel like I like that you put seems, because it is a seems. God is not disowning the body. The body is sustained by God itself. God is here right now and has been here this entire time, has perpetuated the body in and of itself through and by God, and will continue to do so. And then when the body decays after death, it becomes soil and organic material and is sustained again and continuously still by God. There's no disowning or not owning the nature. Nature is created and sustained and dissolved at all times by God. God is the field, the infinite, unconditional, benign, and benevolent, loving field in which all creation happens within and through and by. The idea that God doesn't want the body is a positionality. What we're doing when we do the work is disidentifying with the body because it isn't who we are. That doesn't mean you don't love the body. You have a house cat. You're not the house cat, but do you hate the house cat? No, you feed the house cat. You respect the house cat. You give the house cat water. You pet and love the house cat. It's just like the body. You don't hate the body. You don't disown the body. You take care of the body. You feed it when it needs to be fed. You water it when it needs to be watered. You clothe it to keep it warm. And you show it love and kindness. So I hope that helps clear that up. We're not attempting to create an enemy of the body. We're not even attempting to create an enemy of the ego. It's just a mechanism. And we're realizing that it isn't us. Luke the Crow. Thanks, man. I'll keep that in mind. I'm pretty new to all this stuff. So I wanted to have a better view of what it means to do the practice. You're welcome. I'm glad that helped. And then Patix, I really appreciate you and what you're doing. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for saying so. And then hello, Kaya. Thank you for the hearts. And Vivid Bites. Do you believe in reincarnation until we experience nirvana? Yes. Reincarnation is the continuation of the conscious experience, and in this context, particularly within the physical domain. But if you think about the wheel of samsara, which is the wheel of life and death, birth and death, that included the hell realms and the heaven realms. So reincarnation in that context includes the experience of a heavenly body, an etheric body in a pleasant realm or in a not so pleasant realm. So I do believe in reincarnation in all senses because it is the continuation of the experience of your own awareness and that which can be experienced by that awareness. And when you reach nirvana, it is the extinguishing of the experience. And nirvana, I feel like, can be interpreted in two ways. The one that most people interpret it as is the extinguishing, which that's what it literally translates to, is the extinguishing of all phenomenal forms and experience, which would end up being pure awareness itself in a sort of void state, which I talked about in the last video. The problem with being married to that idea, or you can get stuck at that level, quote unquote, is that it does not include existence itself. It basically, as Buddha would talk about at the end stages of your enlightenment journey, the attachment to non-becoming versus becoming. And the real nirvana would be realizing that becoming and non-becoming are exactly the same thing. They're part of the same oneness. They are the same coin, just two different sides. So you would transcend the duality of existence versus non-existence, extinguishing versus forms, or no forms versus forms, pure awareness versus manifest reality, and realize a non-dual state of awareness, state of being, state of isness that is inclusive of becoming and non-becoming, forms and non-forms, awareness and that which is being aware, which is that which is rising within awareness. And maybe you can imagine what a non-dual experience might be like, but it's something that you would have to realize and become, to remember. Not something you can talk about really, but you can intellectually position yourself to let go of anything intellectually holding you back from an open mind towards that eventual goal, that eventual understanding. It's constantly reminding yourself that you should not have a strong attachment to one or the other. I think that's why one of the last things to go is the attachment to becoming and non-becoming, being and non-being, existing and non-existing. Because there's a subtle positionality there. It's like, I'd rather not exist because I wouldn't experience all this. I'd rather be in nirvana as I understand it, which is void. But that's a positionality, and you won't be able to transcend that until you let it go. You let go of the notion of existence versus non-existence. The false dichotomy or duality. TMD lifts. TMD lifts. How to deal with failing to meet desired outcomes or goals. Again, you're always returning back to the emotional energy that underlies the experience. So you feel disappointed, you feel sad, there's grief, there's maybe anger, resentment, jealousy, who knows what it is. Just focus on the one that you notice right away, the one that's most predominant, and then allow it to be let go of. Let go of the notion that you've failed anything. Excuse me. And let go of the goal itself, let go of any attachments to that goal being exactly the way you wanted. Let go of it happening in the way and at the time that you want, because this is setting up a paradigm that includes failure. Why should you believe you failed in the first place? Well, I failed because it didn't happen by Monday. Well, what if it happened tomorrow on Tuesday? Would you feel like you failed? Or would you feel like you just took an extra day? So you just have to recontextualize the situation. That's how you deal with this sort of thing. Recontextualization is always extremely helpful, and will help you be happier overall. Like all the time, is to recontextualize what's going on in your life. Sometimes all it is shifting your perspective. One Love Dad, it's good to see you. It's good to see you here. Thank you for dropping by. Hi friend, how do you feel about absolute solipsism? The universe is a hallucination you are having. Well, up to a certain point, solipsism is true, in a sense. You are having a completely subjective experience. I think solipsism, in terms of a philosophical framework, is like one of the most useful. Same with, say, Stoicism, very useful. Solipsism does not necessarily include nihilism, though. I think a lot of people can conflate the two, and they believe that if you're solipsistic, that means you're nihilistic. It means you think that everything means nothing, and that it's all like really like a downer. But there's also such a thing as like positive nihilism, and it might be absurdism. I can't remember. There's another framework. Maybe it is nihilism itself, but it doesn't actually include the notion that everything is inherently bad or not worth doing just because it's meaningless. That it actually includes the notion that you create the meaning that you experience. And the reality is that everything means exactly what it is. If you ask a cat, what do you mean? A cat's not going to understand what the heck you're talking about. A cat is perfectly itself and happy to be itself, and all of its meaning is contained within its own being as a cat. It doesn't have to convince you that it means anything or it has any purpose. Its purpose is its own existence. So that's the whole nihilistic part of things. And then the solipsistic part is the way you experience life is completely subjective, and it will never be objective. Every time you try and make something objective, you're using a subjective tool. Like you're using if I'm using a ruler and it has centimeters, that's my subjective understanding of what objective is. But someone who's using a ruler that has inches is going to say, no, this is the objective truth. And your vantage point, wherever you're trying to measure objective from, is limited and bound by your subjective experience of it. What will end up happening at the end, though, is you eventually have to let go of the notion of solipsism, because it is a concept, because it is within the realm of forms. So you can utilize solipsism and the idea of solipsism and its relative truth up until a certain point. And then, like all the concepts, like all of the work, all of the parts of the raft that we use to cross from this shore to the other, eventually you lay them all down and let them all go. And let's see, I agree that solipsism can be nihilistic and or ego-driven, thinking that you are the only thing that allows you to do terrible things since it is all meaningless. Yeah, the fine line is only there for people who want to talk about the fine line, though. Let's be real. Like, anybody who's going to do terrible things, like commit murder or, like kick poor people on the street, or like do the thing that rhymes with grape, they're already awful, quote unquote. They're already so far gone in the belief of their own paradigm and projection of reality. They don't need a framework to excuse their behavior. If you're already going to engage in that sort of stuff, if you're already going to conquer a country, if you're already going to kill millions or whatever it is, that's where you're at, regardless of whatever excuse you use to justify it. I noticed that a lot of, and this isn't a knock on you or anything, it's just I noticed that a lot of people can get stuck in the whole armchair position. They're sitting there, they're reading their philosophy books, and they're like, well, this sets up a this and that, and it's like, let's come down to reality and what actually happens, though. And a lot of people can get hung up in the intellectual abstract realm, and I can talk about it because that's where I was for a very long time. You get stuck in this realm of your own making. It's all hypotheticals, it's all abstractions, it's all what ifs, it's all intellectual, like cycles of self-fulfilling prophecy based on your own assumptions and conjecture. And then eventually you go, this isn't going to get me anywhere. and you cross from what Dr. Hawkins says is the level of the field of reason into the level of love, which is the switch from constantly trying to find some sort of objective truth to suddenly the dawning on you of the complete subjective experience of reality that you can never sort of escape. You're always subjective. There's a fine line where things get messy. I feel as if I learned this stuff too young. Has been hard to integrate. Vivid bites, that's one of the traps I'm referring to. When one realizes these stuffs you've been explaining, what's still the reason for everything? Doesn't one kind of lose all drive? There's an intermediate period. There is an interim where this can happen. It's like a sort of apathy sets in because everything that you've been taught to believe in and care about, which is ego structures and concepts, suddenly lose all of its meaning from that vantage point. So you recognize that everything that was given meaning through the illusion of itself no longer means what you were told it means. There is a period of undoing, a period of uncomfortableness. And that can include apathy, it can include despondency. But if you continue to let go of even the emotions of apathy and despondency and depression, fear, whatever arises due to these dissolving that's happening, this undoing, you'll reach the other side where love starts to peek out from the cracks, so to speak. And that's why there's a huge focus on like the lovingness of God or the benevolence of experience and consciousness itself. That's the thing that's talked about in near-death experiences where there's just like an infinite love. You've never experienced anything close to it on earth, all this kind of stuff, is because that is the essence of the energy that sustains everything. It's a belief in the rejection of that love that prevents us from witnessing it, which is part of the topic that we never really got to talk about yet, which is the developing vision in a world of illusion. The vision that is sort of like a sixth sense that you develop through these practices. It's an intuition, it's an understanding. When you look at something, you're not looking at it with your physical eyes. You're using vision to recognize and understand its essence, which as you do the work, the essence begins to reveal itself to you as you wipe away everything that obscures it, like the clouds that obscure the rays of the sun. The essence of everything is a love. It's a peaceful radiance of love and presence. And it's always there, and it emanates from you and everything else that you experience. So in between the stage of realizing what most of this means about the ego and the stage where you recognize the essence of everything, there is this stage of despondency or apathy. But recognize that the despondency or apathy is now no way to live and no way you want to live. It's not something you want. So you relinquish that too. And become more present, because this despondency, this apathy lives in the realm of your ego and intellect. It's abstracted away from what's really happening. If I'm sitting here and I'm staring at this computer and I'm talking to you guys, I'm like, what does this all mean? It means nothing. Why am I even doing this? That is a abstraction away from what's actually happening. What's actually happening is I'm talking, or the talking is happening, and communication is happening from one localized consciousness to another. And it's sort of like a beautiful, playful dance of learning and teaching and learning, and connection and being and love. You can see how they both rest on the premise that nothing means anything that the ego wants it to mean, but they end up in two totally different places. You might say to me, well, isn't it the ego that says it means it's all love? Well, it's not, because you recognize vision. the vision, the peace of God, the pathos understanding does not arise from the ego. It arises from God itself. It arises from the existence of you in the world, or not in the world, the existence of you at all, of itself. And you begin to witness it. You begin to recognize it through your vision. I can look at the little flower that Kaya just put on the chat, and I can say, oh, it's just a couple pixels. It doesn't mean anything. It's just made up of pixels, which is made up of atoms, which is made up of waveforms of light, which collapse down as a probability into this physical reality, and I'm witnessing it with my eyeballs that don't mean anything, and everything's awful. Or I can use vision, and not my intellect, and not my eyesight, and not these frameworks, to perceive the energy of that flower. Yes, it's pixels on a screen, but there is an energy behind it that is contained within the essence of its intention. It's a beautiful expression of the love from Kaya through the flower into this field of awareness right now. And that's incredible. And it's sorry, I'm just getting really it's really peaking right now, the energy. It's unspeakable. It's unspeakable. Sorry, getting a little blissed out there for a sec. I wasn't expecting that. As you give attention to the vision you have of the world that develops through this work, that's what happens, is like this increasing of that, this increasing. And it can incapacitate you, to the eyes of the normal people. But this is what it's all for, You can see it all coalesces, all the videos I make, these live streams, what I'm trying to communicate, what I try and teach to you, myself, each other. You develop a world in which is worth living. Heaven on earth. That's what it's called. Heaven on earth. The kingdom of God is within you. The kingdom of God is within you. It is your perception of the world that makes the world, not the other way around. And all we need is education. Our greatest sin is ignorance. Our greatest sin is naivete. But you know what came before the ignorance and the naivete is our complete and utter innocence. Our original innocence comes before any notion of sin. The only reason you can make a mistake is because you're completely innocent to begin with. You don't know any better. And the way you know better is by being told. So that's the way we move. That's what we're heading towards. It's a beautiful expression of the evolution of the one consciousness through the forms of the many. And it sounds like a cliche, and I try and avoid these cliches, but at some point you start sounding like one of these gurus. So I don't know. Amazing view, man. Thank you, One Love Dad. I felt that. I appreciate you so much. The wisdom, not the person. Thanks for the wisdom and transmission. Of course. And you can appreciate it all. You can appreciate the person too, because it's like appreciating a flower. The flower can transmit to you the scent. It can transmit to you the color and the joy you feel when you look upon it. And then you can appreciate the personage of the flower as well. What a beautiful instrument of God. And it's just unspeakable. I appreciate you being open. You don't even have to call it a fix. Just a development, a growth, an evolution, a becoming, a growth. Recontextualization, just like when you joined the live or when you first asked your question, we're back to it. Recontextualization. Shifting our perspective just a little to see the world in a new light, which is the light of vision. We're back to it. The light of vision. The light that is within is the light that is within us is without us. It is all around us. It sustains us. It is the light of God. It is the light of you. It's the light of Christ that's within all of us. And through the intention to see it, you begin to see it. Through the intention to feel it, you begin to feel it. And that snowballs, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Just like how the intention to feel and see anger is a self-fulfilling prophecy of the experience of anger. We live in a world of our own making, and we can make a better world. It's an incredible premise, and it's so true. And I can't wait. We have 19 concurrent viewers. When I first did this, I think we were around like 12. You know, you see the momentum as it builds. I think we had even higher. We had like 25 concurrent viewers earlier. Now imagine if it was 2,500. Imagine 2,500 people were hearing the message that they can make the world they want to live in through their own perception and through their own attention and intention. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Let's see. Yeah, I think you asked about spiritual bypassing. How do I know if I'm spiritually bypassing or actually experiencing God and love? I tend to doubt my experiences with logic. And you're saying, I tend to invalidate my high moments later and call it spiritually bypassing. Do you have a word of wisdom? It comes from the place of lack or incompleteness. Excuse me. I'm also going to take a drink of water for a second. I'll mute myself for a moment. I've noticed this as well. So, I'm not perfect, and I'm learning as much as I teach. I teach where I'm at, what I can, and help everybody along the path. So, I'd like to be honest about that. When I notice a moment where I'm doubting my own high vibes, I have noticed a pattern. Hello, unbearable, compassion. That's a nice compassion. I'll just call you compassion. I am. That's a nice picture as well. Hello, welcome to the stream. So yes, I've noticed as well. It is the residual paradigm, the residual belief system that is inverse to those positive experiences. If you think about, and we'll think about it I'm just going off the cuff. We'll think about it together right now. If you sit for a moment and think about the perspective and paradigm you're used to believing in and giving credence to, it's built on the survival mechanisms of the animal brain, which eventually developed a frontal cortex. And your humanity is built up on top of the monkey self or whatever, the lizard self. So necessarily there is a deep-seated biological imperative to view the world as a hostile place in which you're attempting to survive. So your memories tend to lean towards the negative so that you can avoid those experiences rather than the positive. And then our society is made up of people who all experience the same basic biology. So we have a society and a system that teaches us that avoiding the worst is how we should frame our lives. So you can see how there's like a tendency to focus on the negative because it's out of a place of survival, which is completely fine, and there's no reason to judge yourself for it. As we become more spiritual as human beings, we recognize that is no longer necessary. We recognize that we are provided for just fine. There is a certain level of abundance in the current society where you don't actually have to be so focused on survival. Of course, there are some people who are struggling, but if you're here with internet access and a phone or a screen to look at, I'm sure you have food in your belly. I'm sure you have clothes on your back. So you're taken care of and you can relax. And then you can start building up a new paradigm, a new set of habits of belief and thought around positivity rather than negativity. So it's really just the old programming telling you, well, we still got to be careful. I know you just had a really high moment where you saw love everywhere you looked, but we still got to be careful. That tiger can jump out at any second, you know? You're suddenly going to starve to death and be homeless and have nothing. It's residual programming, residual fear, residual conditioning. The beauty of realizing that death is not real, the beauty of realizing the truth of your innate spiritual nature, is that you don't have to listen to the survival paradigm anymore. So even if you were penniless and poor and about to die in a gutter, you're like, at least I'm leaving this body. At least I'm going to go do something else now. I can still focus on God. I can watch the rain that's falling on me and going into this gutter and making me cold. And I can be like, what a beautiful raindrop. What a beautiful stream of water. And then you pass away and you're focusing on the beauty of all things around you. And you get to experience something else that's no longer contained within the body and within the karmic situation that had you penniless and starving and in a gutter in the first place. But, not everyone has experienced the revelation that death is not actually real in the way that we believe it is. So you start somewhere. There was a time where I thought when you died, you just went into like oblivion, which was comforting. I think it's more of an atheistic belief or an agnostic belief. I came from nowhere. I'm going to go back to nowhere. That's fine. Even that's fine. What's so bad about that? And I would tell myself, I only have fear because I'm aware. If I'm no longer aware, I'm not going to be afraid anymore. In a sense, like death would be complete release, even with that notion or that, framework. And if you have a religious framework, then you're going to go to heaven. So both are fine, If you want food in your belly, it's on the counter. All right. Kaya's actually my wife. I talk about her in my videos once in a while. There she is. Thank you so much for making food. It is getting a bit late. We should probably wrap it up. We started at 3. We usually go around 3 hours. So if anybody has any more questions, feel free to ask. We're going to wrap it up in the next 10-15 minutes. I hope that answer was sufficed. That sufficed though. One love. Let's see. We have new to the channel. This is crazy because I'm seeing this at the same moment I'm thinking I need a satsang. I indeed have food in my belly. Good. Wonderful to have food in your belly. Even if you didn't have food in your belly, like the food was 10 hours ago, you'd be surprised how long you can last. Can I see the full stream later? Yes, I make these public. And then eventually I edit out any long periods of silence, maybe at the beginning or whatever, and add timestamps. So you will be able to see the stream later. That self-doubt is strong. Those survival instincts are tough. Yes, they are. And we slowly transcend the fear that underlies those survival instincts, because it's all fear. It's a fundamental fear of death, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how the animals survived for millennia. It's how they survive now, and it's how your ego developed on the notion that you must be afraid in order to survive. It keeps you on your toes. It keeps you. Yeah, good thing you're tougher. Good thing your intent and your attention, your focus, your practice is tougher than even the toughest fear, and you can relinquish it all. Good thing. Good wording, Kaya. Unbearable compassion. How to be in the world. Every time I have to face life, I just want to isolate like a hermit. Being in the world takes practice for anybody. Isn't that funny? It takes practice for anybody to be in the world. So we can start from there and not beat ourselves up for any difficulty we're having. And then after that, we can decide how we want to be in the world. And if you're here and you want to satsang and you're spiritual and you're meditating, then you want to be present while in the world. So when you go to work, you're present as best you can. When you're in traffic, you're present as best you can. When you're at home and you're cooking dinner or doing dishes or mowing the lawn, you're present as best you can. And you're constantly creating the opportunity for this presence through a daily meditation practice, through deliberate choice in mindfulness exercises. So like maybe when you brush your teeth, try and be as present as you can. Or when you do the dishes. And slowly this can bleed into other areas of life until it's just a constant practice. And then after it's being a constant practice, it's a constantness. It's just you. It's just what you are. You're present. So you start off small and you implement these things as you go. And if you need to spend time as a hermit, you spend time as a hermit. So if you need to retreat from the world in order to isolate yourself so you can regather your constitution, your heart, your energy, then you can reapproach after hermiting for a bit with more energy and more conviction. The best path is the middle way, you know? The Buddha said the middle way is the way. Try and take the middle way. You don't have to become a complete renunciant. You don't have to, you obviously don't want to indulge completely in the worldly things. So the middle way, you take your time, you be patient with yourselves and others, with the work and its progress, and step by step you get to where we're all striving, which is at least unconditional love, hopefully. Vivid Bites, do you think any totalitarian state goes straight up against spiritual paradigm? Any totalitarian state? Do you mean like a physical state, like a government? Or do you mean like an internal belief system in totalitarianism? Like a state of being? I'm assuming you mean like a governance. One love, work, kids, school, relationships, so many things keep me in survival mode. Of course, love is stronger. Yes, love is stronger. And it's not just because, it's not this paradigm of weak versus strong, but love is always there. It's just not always recognized. It's like how I took the time to recognize how much love was contained within the flower emoji. It put me into like a higher state where I was like failing words and I was getting dizzy and, I was blissing out a little. It's there. It's just sometimes, most of the time we don't recognize it. We don't witness it. So while you're at work and with your kids and at school and in relationships, you notice the love that's there bit by bit by bit. It takes practice. It takes consistent effort. It takes the consistent intention. Each time you're about to talk to someone, each time you're about to, you wake up in the morning, you intend, and then you do your best. And then the next day you get another opportunity. And the best part about, the notion of a day, it's a fresh day, it's a fresh start, a new opportunity. You actually have a fresh start and a fresh opportunity every moment. So you can think of every moment that you experience as a new day. That helps. That can help shift your paradigm, but I'm not even that great at, I'm not perfect, I can be angry for a few moments. I'm not going to, just because I know and I tell myself, all right, the next moment's a new opportunity. It does help though. I will say it helps shorten the moments of unpleasant experience, and then you can experience love instead. But new days are usually a good starting point. So a new morning, a new day, a new intention, revivify, re-energize that initial intention to be loving and to witness love, to be present. Umbrella, I keep calling you umbrella. Maybe I should, umbrella. Compassion, I never meditate. I should start here or there, but I always procrastinate. Thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, try meditating every day, 10 minutes. It'll help. Thanks, Kaya. What's preferred? Did we talk about the to-do developing vision? We jump right into we jumped into the Q&A and we talked about vision a little bit at the beginning, a little bit throughout, especially towards the end here. I can give a few words to it toward now that we're at the end of the call, at the end of the live, and we'll wrap things up. You're welcome, Compassion. I'm happy to take the time to answer your questions. Okay, so we'll wrap things up now. I'll talk a little bit about vision. So it is something that comes from A Course in Miracles, which I do suggest people, dabble in. It's free to listen to on their website, acourseinmiracles.org. It's all free. So you can read a PDF. You can read along while it reads to you. It's all free for listening on YouTube. I personally listen to it on Audible, and I used a couple credits, the Audible credits. And I also have a physical copy, because I really enjoy A Course in Miracles. But vision is not relegated to the Course in Miracles framework. Vision is actually it's a common trait that we all have. We just don't utilize. And it's something that we recognize and develop as we practice the spiritual work, like meditation, mindfulness, presence, forgiveness, letting go. It is the ability to witness and recognize the essence of a situation, a person, an event, an object, and ourselves, not the strict physical content. So you're witnessing the essence, the context, rather than the content or the form. You may look at me and see all of the labels, the man, the glasses, the hair, the face, the mouth, the shoulders. He has this color shirt and this little blanket thing on him. It's a shawl, meditation shawl. And that is all the content of the experience. But there's a context and an essence behind that. The essence of the live stream is the intention to help others achieve a certain level of baseline happiness through sharing of my own practices, own success, own wisdom garnered through experience. So there's already a higher essence in and of itself through the intention, and you can witness that through recontextualization. So you don't see that essence with your eyes, you experience it through perception, through recontextualization. Now, even further than that, vision comes as the vision of, say, Christ, or source, or love, or unconditional love, or God, or beingness itself. It begins to become revealed to you. There is a eminence of love from all things. Even if you don't know it, even if you don't recognize it, even if you haven't experienced it yet. If I were to pass a homeless person even on the street and they're asking for money, you would see the content of someone who's wearing raggedy clothes, they're torn up, they're dirty, they have a certain smell maybe to them, they have dirty face and hands, they're homeless. But behind the homeless label and the form of the body and what appearance it takes is the shining light of Christ or God or unconditional love itself that you can witness through vision. And this is what I mean by developing vision. By becoming present and relinquishing our attachments to how we perceive things through conditioning and habits, we can clear the clouds of those labels and the pictures we paint and witness the the sun that is always there and shining forth. The rays of the sun can break through the clouds, and that is vision. So this discussion, I meant to talk about it in a way that encourages everybody to, when they engage in the world, attempt to recontextualize their experience to make space for vision to develop, to give an opportunity for the clouds to part and the sun to peek through. And you might ask, like, how do I do that? Everyone's situation will be unique to their, environment. But say you have a pet, or you have a loved one, or you even have, like, it's easy to do in nature. It's easy to do with animals, and eventually it's even easy to do with human beings, and then even inanimate objects because of the intention behind them. But so we'll start where it's easiest, which is like flowers, trees, a squirrel at the park, the laughter of children. These all have an essence to them that you can witness by allowing that to dawn upon you, allowing the sun to dawn upon you. And when you go for a walk, try and downregulate all of your thoughts and labels about the experience, and just become present and witness the trees, the wind, the breeze, the sky, the clouds, the sun, or lack of the witnessing of the sun. Maybe it's cloudy out. All of these things, no matter what they are, you wouldn't put the day down in your perception by saying, oh, it's not sunny. You let go of that label and witness the clouds and the atmosphere it creates. Look at a flower. Meditate on the presence of a flower. And that will help you recognize the essence of the flower as you let go of all labels. And this is how you develop the vision, the intuitive sense of the essence behind all content. And so that's what I want to talk about today. I talked about it a little bit throughout, but that's in essence. If you have any questions, let me know. But we're going to wrap it up now. I'm going to look at what's been going on in chat. First name, surname. Why when where sanctity knocks the door from inside, people fear that. It can be scary to destabilize the ego. So the fear arises because of the ego's hold, or the habit of fear. So they're just fearing something unknown. They're fearing something that they're not used to. But that's totally okay. Satanta Kelly. I've started practicing Ramana Maharshi's. Maharshi's. I don't know why I have to say his first name to say his last name. Ramana Maharshi's practice of self-inquiry for the last week. Today I was at a pet farm practicing self-inquiry. I felt like no one, but felt like God experiencing the world. That's incredible. That's incredible. I'll be making a guided meditation soon for the channel too. But thank you so much, Kaya, for helping. Show how. You're going to feel in the tummy. You want to make it steady for 4 seconds. Oh, this is the 4, 7, 8 breathing. So I see it as loose guidelines because it can bog you down if you get to like, oh, am I doing it right? So it's more you want to breathe in faster than you breathe out, and breathing out slow automatically regulates the nervous system. So I'll breathe in for 4 seconds. I'm just gonna have to count in my head because I can't. I mean, I'll try both ways. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be the in breath. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'd be holding my breath, and then out my mouth, breathing for 8 seconds. And it takes like a moment to get the rhythm right, to get a comfortable rhythm. So I'll try it right now. Uh, So I did it, I think 3 times or 4 times, but hopefully you can notice that you're taking like a relatively fast breath for the 4 seconds because you want enough air in your lungs to breathe out for 8 and enough air in your lungs to hold for 7. So it takes a couple like tries to get a nice rhythm going. And I use the heartbeat. Like when I was nodding my head, I was going along with my heartbeat. So I'm counting. I'm 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I don't force myself to breathe in right away after the 8. I give a couple pause, like a maybe 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's my personal approach. It does calm you down. And if it works, right? So I'm not too worried about it has to be 4 seconds right after the 8. It has to be 7 seconds right after the 4. It's a general guideline for a short, quick inhale, pausing with the breath for 7 rough seconds, and then slowly exhaling. And the hold and the exhale are what are reducing the heart rate, which calms the nervous system. There's also a technique called box breathing, which also works. I'm not sure which is more effective, but you breathe in a box. So you go 4 seconds in, 4 seconds hold, 4 seconds out, 4 seconds hold, 4 seconds in, 4 seconds hold, 4 seconds out, 4 seconds hold. And you can do 5 seconds or 3 seconds, but I think it's usually 4. You're creating a box in, hold, out, hold. So hopefully that helped. Yeah, kind of saying do it 4 times. It's like the minimum. You know, it always helps me. If I ever need it, it always helps. Breathing out slowly for 8 seconds. Yes, yes. Yeah, you can purse your lips if you want. I just like breathe out. But pursing your lips will help it go slower. Like you'll control the air more. I say experiment and find what works, because that's what's important. First name, surname. How to allow sanctity merge in soul without the ego's resistance? By letting go, by surrendering. Why are you so afraid? Just let go. That's what you can tell yourself. You can tell the ego, relax, relax, let go, it's okay. You're developing a habit of safety because you've experienced a habit of not safety, like non-safety or fear for the majority of your life, especially if you're asking like about fear, you know? So you're developing a habit of trusting that you're safe. I'm safe right now, and most people are safe. If they're watching this video, you're safe. You're not in a dire state of impending doom. There's no gun against your head or tiger at your front door knocking it down about to eat you. You're not in a zombie apocalypse. You're not going to get chased down and your brain's taken out. All of that is just mind activity. If there's like any like fear, it's just residual fear from the survival paradigm, from the ego, from habit. So you're safe. Like I'm safe right now. I look around, I'm in this room, everything's okay. Even if I messed up, oh no, I messed up what I was talking about. There's nothing to be afraid of. Why would that be something to be afraid of? So recognize what it is that you're constantly afraid of by sitting with it. Like if I got on this call and I'm like, wow, there's 13 people watching, even if there's 1,300 people watching, I trust that I'm completely safe because physically and mentally I am. If I have any narratives in my mind that there's 13 people, oh my gosh, oh, what if I mess up? Or what if I say the wrong thing? Or what if they hate me? There's so many things to be afraid of. No, there isn't. What things are you afraid of? Those are mind made up things. That's all clouds. That's all illusion. You're making that up in your head. What's actually happening right now is I'm sitting perfectly safe and comfortable in a chair in a perfectly safe environment and can just as easily stop the live stream as I started it. And I can apologize if I mess up. I can say, oh, we're all human. I can even be like, wow, I'm really nervous, guys. And, you know, I've never done this before. And I hope you can bear with me. All of these things recontextualize the experience so that whatever the ego or the mind activity is telling you is like, all the power is taken out of it. All of its oomph, all of the trust you give to that inner monologue is, you know, taken away. You know, I just knocked the table that the laptop is on, and it jiggled the computer and made the image jiggle. And someone might go, oh no, I jiggled the image. I jiggled the camera. I'm terrified now. Like, you know, what if they don't want to watch? Someone just left this live stream. There was 13 and now there's 12. I'm just giving you an example of what's happening right now. So maybe you can apply it to your own life. So when you experience, you know, the sanctity merge with the soul, or you experience a moment of beauty, sometimes there's an internal dialogue to detract from the moment. Like, I looked at my mom, I looked at my son, I looked at my spouse with too much love, I looked at my neighbor with too much love. Oh no. What's going to happen now? The ego will just swoop in out of nowhere and tell you, it won't even be like an inner monologue yet. It'll just be like a vague fear. Like you were too present. You were too loving to that person. What are they going to think about you now? You're not strong. You're not tough. You're not cool. You're not a man. Or now they're going to think that you have ulterior motives, or, you know, whatever. It's all nonsense, and you can let it all go and go, oh man, I'm perfectly fine. And if I never want to look at them with love again, I don't have to. If I never wanted to be loving towards my neighbor again, they're never going to experience it again because I make that choice. It's like you can let go of all this stuff. Use the intellect in your favor. Don't let the ego use the thinking mind in its favor to make you feel bad about anything you do. It's fun after a while. You see the absurdity in everything, and that's part of the surrendering too. You want to let go of like, oh well, what if I let go of this thing and I can never do it again? Huh? What? What do you mean never do it again? No, if I let go of smoking, I'll never be able to smoke again. No, you just go buy a pack of cigarettes and smoke again. What are you talking about? It's really funny what the ego can do. It's like if I let go of this fear, if I let go of this desire, if I let go of wanting that promotion, I'll never get it. Um, that's wrong because you get a promotion based on your merit. You get a promotion based on the work you're doing, not on your wantingness of the promotion. So do good work. The intention is to do good work. The intention is to be present. Your boss will notice the essence of your intention, the essence of your being, and promote you. And if you don't get the promotion, then at least you didn't spend all that time agonizing over getting it. You were focused on being present and doing good work. And maybe the promotion wasn't meant for you because you're meant for a better job. You surrender all of these notions, all of these ego paradigms. Life just gets easier. It doesn't get harder. So, yeah, I just want a little tangent there. And I hope it was beneficial. Oh no, I knocked the table again. First name, surname is not conformity with the now and ego's blockage or rationalization to sanctity, unconditional selfless service to otherness. I don't know. Using a lot of words that are like fancy and spiritual, and they don't even have to. Is not conformity to the now as ego's blockage, and ego's blockage rationalization. I don't even know what that means, man. Yeah, if I knock the table again, One Love Dad is gone. This is not the quality in a free live stream that he's looking for. I expect better production value from some guy on the internet. It's not conformity. Is it not conformity? Is not conformity with the now. Ego's. Yeah, he does. He requires quality. Otherwise, he won't love you. He's not one loving if you don't give him the utmost quality and content. Conformity with the now. I don't know. I'm actually so. I'll be real with you. I'm so like high right now with all of this free flow discussion and positive vibes that I don't even recognize what you're asking. First name, surname. I'm sorry. It just sounds like it sounds like intellectualization of a very simple process. Just surrender. And I don't mean that in a way to like knock you or anything. Is not conformity with the now. What do you mean conformity with the now? Being present? Just be present. There's no ego's blockage can be fixed by selfless service. I think he's answering himself. Yeah, it's a very like it's like a cyclical question. I mean, be present and relinquish all everything that would interfere with being present, like thoughts of the past and future, like over intellectualization, and witness what you are right now and witness what the experience is right now. If you're serving someone unconditionally, serve someone unconditionally. If I'm handing out sandwiches out on a parking lot, someone comes up with a business tie on, I hand him a sandwich. Someone comes up with ripped sneakers and pants and dirt all over his face, I hand him a sandwich. It's unconditional. I'm serving them sandwiches, and I'm doing it regardless of what they look like. And I'm doing it from the present moment. So, yeah, don't sweat it, man. Don't sweat it so much. Don't worry about it. If you want to be present, be present. If you want to laugh, laugh. If you want to be loving, be loving. If you want to be kind, be kind. If you want to be, if these are the things you're trying to attain, then be them now. It doesn't have to come sometime in the future. It's the intention you set now and then embodying it. And that's part of the whole planting your garden thing too, cultivating your garden. All of this coalesces into one big message of presence and love. Cultivating your garden, developing vision, meditation, mindfulness. One Love saying, "This has been wonderful, man. I needed that." Thank you so much. I really appreciate your appreciation. Thank you so much for being here. Good day. I was lost in my head today from dreams last night, remembered God, and talked about God. Lovely stuff. Thank you, Kai and Satsang. I like that Satsang is the name, because Satsang is all of us. It's the community. It's me. It's you. It's the essence. It's the intention and the context, rather than this one person is responsible for how good I feel. It's actually you are responsible for how good you feel. It's the participation. It's a part and parcel. It's the give and take. It's the back and forth. It's the dance. Things are in heaven are brought to everybody. Heaven is here now, and everyone can witness it. They just have to make the choice to do so. So there are things in heaven, but they are brought to all. So that's what I mean by sweating. Maybe you're not sweating it, maybe you're not worrying about it, but there is a certain level of over-intellectualization of this stuff. And that's totally fine. It's not like a judgment. I've been there now. I've been there yesterday, the day before, who knows? It's coming and going. Sometimes you get stuck in your head asking questions, and then you go, wait a minute, it got me. I'm supposed to be just chilling. I'm supposed to be just here, now, present, at peace. And even then you drop the supposed to be. I'm not supposed to be anything except what I am. Peace. No words necessary. No questions necessary. I am perfectly perfect as I am right now. And you let it go. You don't even feel bad about it. Just chill. So anyway, I said wrap it up 20 minutes ago. We were still going. It seems like now's the time. Thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate you. And you know what? Actually, I'm doing it. I brought the books again. So if you guys want to hear a random passage from a random book, I have the Bhagavad Gita, I have the Upanishads, I have the Dhammapada, I have A Course in Miracles, and I have the Bible. I will open to a random passage to end from any one of these books. Bhagavad Gita, Dhammapada, Upanishads, Course in Miracles, and the Bible. Course in Miracles. We got one vote for A Course in Miracles. Go ahead with Kaya. All right. Random page. And contained in this is the text, the workbook for students, and the manual for teachers. So whatever it opens up to could be any portion. Okay. Looks like we got chapter 26, the transition. Part 3, the borderland. Let me take a quick drink of water. Complexity is not of God. How could it be when all he knows is one? He knows of one creation, one reality, one truth, and but one Son. Nothing conflicts with oneness. How, then, could there be complexity in him? What is there to decide? For it is conflict that makes choice possible. That's interesting. What is there to decide? For it is conflict that makes choice possible. So if there were no conflict, you wouldn't have to decide. You would simply know him. You would know God. The truth is simple. That was my commentary, by the way. The truth is simple. It is one without an opposite. And how could strife enter in its simple premise and bring complexity where oneness is? The truth makes no decisions, for there is nothing to decide between. And only if there were, could choosing be a necessary step in the advance towards oneness. What is everything leaves room for nothing else. Yet is this magnitude beyond the scope of this curriculum. Nor is it necessary we dwell on anything that cannot be immediately grasped. So that was just the first part, which is really interesting because I feel like it ties into what we were just talking about with the simplicity of just being present and surrendering and being here now. There is nothing to decide between. Truth is simple. It is one. Don't dwell on it if it cannot be grasped. Yes, great passage. And I like that. It says, outside of the scope of this curriculum, which, he says curriculum in the book a lot because it's a course in miracles. So he doesn't focus on extremely heady, abstract, intellectualized stuff that you can't grasp through practical means. What's on page 631? Oh, yeah, I knocked the table again. I'm so sorry. I keep knocking it because I picked up the book. But look, you stayed. You stayed. The content is just too good. It's too quality. Let's see. 630. $631. Now, what we were on, beyond all something. Now we're on 3 again. Part 3 again, beyond all idols. That's on page 630. And now 631. We'll go 631.3. Behind the search for every idol lies the yearning for completion. Wholeness has no form because it is unlimited. To seek a special person or thing to add to you to make yourself complete can only mean that you believe some form is missing. And by finding this, you will achieve completion in a form you like. This is the purpose of an idol, that you will not look beyond it, to the source of the belief that you are incomplete. Only if you had sinned could this be so, for sin is the idea you are alone and separated off from that which is whole. And thus, it would be necessary for the search for wholeness to be made beyond the boundaries of limits on yourself. It is never the idol that you want, but what you think it offers to you. You want indeed and have the right to ask for. Nor could it be possible it be denied. Your will to be complete is but God's will, and this is given you by being His. God knows not form. He cannot answer you in terms that have no meaning, and your will could not be satisfied with empty forms, made but to fill a gap that is not there. It is not this you want. Creation gives no separate person and no separate thing the power to complete the Son of God. What idol can be called upon to give the Son of God what He already has? An idol here would be anything outside of yourself, anything at all. What could complete you if you're already complete? Incredible passage. Thank you so much, Kaya. And we can go to 637. Oh, wow, look at this. First thing, 637.3 again. So it's actually 637.10. We're on 637, page 637, section 10. Sorry, section 5, part 10. I forget how to read these things, you know what I mean? But it says, in italices right there, there never was a time an idol brought you anything except the gift of guilt. Not one was brought except at cost of pain, nor was it ever paid to you, paid by you alone. Just above that it says, do not look back except in honesty. And when an idol tempts you, think of this. There never was a time an idol brought you anything except the gift of guilt. Not one was bought except at the cost of pain, nor was it ever paid by you alone. Be merciful unto your brother, then, and do not choose an idol thoughtlessly, remembering that he will pay the cost as well as you, for he will be delayed when you look back, and you will not perceive whose loving hand you hold. Look forward then, in confidence, walk with a happy heart that beats in hope and does not pound in fear. The will of God forever lies in those whose hands are joined. Until they joined, they thought he was their enemy. But when they joined and shared a purpose, they were free to learn their will is one, and thus the will of God must reach to their awareness. Nor can they forget for long that it is but their own. So their own will. Their own will is the will of God. And when you join hands with a brother, with another person, in spirit or physically, you're joining hands with someone who's just like you. So don't look on them as an idol, as something you can get something from. Look at them as a child and a son of God, part of the sonship as you are. Let go of guilt. Let go of fear. And know that you're holding a loving hand. And look forward in confidence. Walk with a happy heart that beats in hope and not fear. Very cool stuff. I really love A Course in Miracles. I think that a lot of people are put off by the sort of biblical tone of the writing, and they're put off by even the title of the book, but it's an incredible book. Very great stuff. Let's see. First name, surname. If we let the masks to fall, sanctity knocks the door, and the egg realized that he wants just the mirror and the closed door. The egg. Do you mean the egg? The ego? You're welcome. Thank you for suggesting those pages. They were good. Kay made it. What does the Course in Miracles say about marriage and dating? The Course in Miracles talks about the special relationship and the holy relationship. And I made a video on the special relationship versus a holy relationship. I think it's entitled How to Have a Holy Relationship. So you can get a good gist of what it means there. It doesn't talk specifically about marriage and dating. It talks about relationships. So this would be all relationships. Relationships with your boss, your coworker, your neighbor, your spouse, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Your family members. A special relationship would be one in which you're looking to fulfill yourself, to create wholeness out of the other person or using the other person. You're basically making an idol of them. So they have something that you don't. And if you just capture them and hold on to them, then you'll be whole. But a holy relationship is one where both people recognize their innate wholeness as part of the sonship, as sons of God, quote unquote, so that you're not looking to the other person to fulfill you and make you whole, but actually the relationship is a means of recognizing the truth of both your wholeness and theirs, and developing vision of the Christ within both of you. So you look upon the lovingness, the unconditional love, the essence of your partner in the holy relationship, and not on the picture you've made through ego positionalities. Yeah, I think that, yeah, as Kaya says, it's that video and it'll help. Yeah, did you already answer the totalitarian government? Okay, now you said government. I didn't know what you meant by state. I thought you meant like a state of consciousness. Yeah, government, totalitarian government is like it opposes spirituality. Nothing opposes spirituality. Nothing opposes the work of, or the practices that I'm, a proponent of. Mindfulness, meditation, nothing, a totalitarian government exists outside. You go inside, you go into your closet or your room, you close the door, you turn off the lights and you meditate. There's nothing opposing you from doing that. If you want to wash your dishes while being present, there's no thought police that are going to know that you're not having awful, fearful thoughts about the totalitarian government, that you're just being present and washing dishes. They're not going to kick down your door and drag you outside for being mindful and being present. So I don't think that any form of government, no matter what it is, or any experience in life is antithetical to spiritual practice. You actually make any experience in your life, no matter what it is, no matter what culture it's in, whatever government you have, part of the work you're doing. And this would be the karma yoga that Krishna talks about in the Bhagavad Gita, or it would be the Dharma. The work that you do is the life that you experience. You become mindful, you become present. You're able to be a householder and an individual in the world with a body and a thinking mind and mind activity and things to do and appointments to get to and kids to drop off at school and work to get to and quotas to meet, while still being present, while still being mindful, while developing the vision which shows you the essence behind all things. So it's not opposed to it for sure. Is this something he said earlier? Perfect something. Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. I haven't been kidless in years and had time to myself. I'm actually scared in a way. Starts tomorrow. Great time and great refresh today. I haven't been kidless in years. Oh, do you mean like it starts tomorrow, as in your kids have moved out and you're alone? Or do you mean your new way of incorporating spiritual work into having kids starts tomorrow? Maybe they're out of college or something. I don't know. You're welcome, Vivid Bits or Bites. Oh, not real kidless. Oh, not moved out daycare. Oh, okay, so you're gonna have time. Oh, okay. I thought you like kidless as in like they've flown the nest. Yeah, that's great. It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be incredible to even experience them like seeing you after daycare. You know, they're getting that's. I mean, that's wonderful. They're going to go to daycare. They're going to have so much to share with you after. They're going to be so glad to see you after. It's going to be an exciting and a wonderful time. And the time in between, you get to sit with, the situation you're in, your life, your home, and your mind. You can make changes with your environment. You can make changes with what you pay attention to. It's going to be really great. It's a really great opportunity. I'm excited for you. You get the best of both worlds. You get some time, but then you also get to see your kids after and be with them and present with them and witness their joy. It's really wonderful. Yeah, it's going to be great. It's great that you're a young dad. You're going to have so many wonderful tools to hand to them, to pass down, the tools of presence, the tools of meditation, kindness, forgiveness, recontextualizing their situations. You do it with them. You guide them through the breathing techniques to calm them down. You show them how beautiful their perception of reality is. If they're marveling at a bug or a flower, you marvel at it with them. It's just it's a joyous, joyous thing. Kids are wonderful. Okay, it's gone quite long now. This is the longest live stream we've had. So now we're actually gonna wrap it up. I'm glad you guys were all here. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for being a part of this live stream and a part of this community. I really appreciate all of you. Skywalker, since you talked about relationships, if it's all about being on the same frequency, then it's really special. Then is it really special, especially if it's a romantic relationship? Is there the one? I feel like that's I gotta answer your question. I don't want to leave. I won't be able to sleep at night if I don't answer your question. I'm just kidding, but thank you for being here, Skywalker. I don't know if I've seen a question from you before, at least this live stream. So thanks for asking. Since you talked about relationships, in A Course in Miracles, there are different types of relationships, quote unquote. But every single relationship you enter into is an opportunity for learning and growing. You're a teacher and they're a teacher. You're a learner and they are a learner. And if you surrender all of the ego baggage around what a relationship is and what it's for, you can experience relationships without being overly attached to any certain outcome or even process. If a relationship is a relationship in which you enter into an elevator and there's someone standing there and you have a pleasant hello and a pleasant chat and a pleasant goodbye, that is a perfectly natural, well-used relationship. And you both experienced, expressed, taught, and learned what was meant to happen in that moment. If the relationship is a neighbor who's difficult and, blows their leaves onto your lawn, or I don't know, whatever neighbors do, and you're frustrated about that, there would be an opportunity to learn to let go of frustration and anger and to love them unconditionally. The difference between a special relationship and a holy relationship is the recontextualization of what a relationship is. So you basically, in the course, it describes making the decision to recontextualize the relationship from one that the ego wants you to be in, which is the special relationship. It has reasons, it has an expectation, it has a goal, it has a purpose, it has the overarching, underlying purpose of fulfilling you. And you let that go and you allow what it's called the Holy Spirit into your relationship. This is basically the intuition. When you become quiet enough, you can hear, quote unquote, you can intuit the essence of a situation, and the Holy Spirit will let you know or tell you what a thing is for. Oh, this is a lesson about impatience. This is a lesson about anxiety. This is a lesson about attachment. This is an opportunity to listen to them unconditionally and give them my undivided attention. This is an opportunity to extend love and forgiveness. And as you do so, as you drop judgment and forgive both yourself and them, that's the main premise of a holy relationship, is forgiveness, according to the book. You begin to recognize the innate perfection, or the quality of sinlessness, the quality of innocence that you both share. And you may or may not enter in a relationship that lasts a very long time. So the one in the elevator, the one with the neighbor, they don't necessarily last a long time. You can get into a relationship that lasts a few years. There is the potential, according to A Course in Miracles, to enter into a relationship that lasts a lifetime. There's also relationships that seem to end. This is like paraphrased from the book. Seem to end but don't actually end. You seem to part, but you don't actually part. There's an impact, there's an ongoing teaching, learning situation happening, just because you have come together. It's sort of like the idea that in retrospect you can learn a lot even if a relationship is over. So, and then there's also the spiritual paradigm in which, a soul or an oversoul is made up of many different people. The individual people are just individuated consciousnesses or awarenesses. So there's different ways to look at it. But you don't actually ever part. Space is also an illusion, so is time. So is there actually like the one? The one that you're talking about is like the soulmate. The soulmate is a concept. The soulmate is a framework made up by the ego in order to complete yourself by looking out there for somebody who's your soulmate. You're one half of something, and if you just meet that other half, you'll be whole. The holy relationship is not contained, that it's separate from that contextualization. It's a completely different way of looking at a relationship. Every relationship is perfect as it is because it is a opportunity to learn and grow for both people, taught by both people and by the relationship itself through the Holy Spirit. If you allow the Holy Spirit in, it technically becomes a holy relationship in which you allow the essence to shine forth and through the clouds of any ego positionalities. So you're letting go of the notion of finding a soulmate and allowing God to present to you the reality that everybody is your soulmate. Does that make sense? That you are your soulmate. Everything is as it is, and an expression of love. And what you're doing through the holy relationship in particular is learning to recognize exactly that. Christ's presence in all things and through all people, including yourself. SS Flynn, what if an interaction is not learning, or even more so remembering, but a moment of needing to choose to humble the mind and connect with the other? Just typing, you're already transmitting. Oh, I guess maybe I already answered. Yeah, you always have a choice. And there's something in A Course in Miracles that talks about the choice between teachers. You can either listen to the voice of the ego as your chosen teacher, or you can listen to the voice of the Holy Spirit as your chosen teacher. If you're choosing the ego, you're choosing division through whatever judgments and whatever positionalities, whatever payoffs that the ego is trying to feed you. You know, I'm right, they're wrong. It's a positionality. It's a facade, it's an illusion. But if you listen to the Holy Spirit as your chosen teacher, you recognize the extension, the call for love that is happening between you and the other person. And as you listen more and more to the Holy Spirit rather than the ego, you recognize more easily the call for love. People are either asking for love or giving love. That's the only thing that's happening on earth between anybody at any time. There's either a lack of love or the ability to extend love. And this is something that's talked about in the Course as well. Henry. Hello, Henry. Welcome. Welcome to the live stream. Gonna check out my videos. Wonderful. I'm really glad that you're here and that you're gonna check them out. The next live will be next week. Next weekend, either Saturday or Sunday. Sunday has been the go-to for now, so it'll probably be Sunday. And I will make an announcement on the YouTube, and maybe I'll even start doing like a scheduled live stream with thumbnails. Also, alternatively, and or whatever, you can join the Discord server, and I usually put an announcement in the Discord server so that you're aware. Skywalker, I don't think the whole concept of soulmate is not necessarily about being whole with the other person, but if the person is gone from your life, will you not feel whole or loss? Loss is a experience of grief. And you know, if my wife suddenly disappeared tomorrow, I'm going to experience grief and I'm going to experience loss. But does that necessitate the experience of suffering? Suffering is taking an experience like grief and dragging it out for the rest of my life. When grief arises, if I were to lose a quote-unquote soulmate, I would witness the grief, honor the grief as it arises, and let the grief go, because it is a fleeting experience within awareness. And every time it happens, I do the same thing. But if I grab hold of that grief and then make it my personality and become a grieving spouse, a widower or whatever it's called, like the male version of a widow, then I've now taken on a personality and a persona that revolves around the experience of grief, which is inherently a form of suffering. So the question is like formulated as like, will you not feel a loss? You'll feel a loss and you'll feel grief. Will you not feel whole though? You will feel whole. Nothing takes away from your wholeness. Nothing would ever take away from my wholeness or your wholeness. What you'd experience is the emotion arising within your awareness. That doesn't make you inherently less whole. It's an experience. And you would relinquish any attachment to the experience or any aversion to the experience. You're already whole and nothing's going to change that. It's your belief in a lack of wholeness that creates a misconception. It paints a picture. And this is why it's called an illusion, even a delusion. It's not real. So I hope that helps. So you can find someone on the same frequency and replace your wife that easy? Anyway, I'll go to sleep. I'm not even a believer. Came here because my friend was watching. Nice talk though. Good night. All right. Well, I hope that you sleep well. Thank you for stopping by. And I appreciate your open mind. Thank you for being here. I hope that you come by again. It'd be really cool. What else? Have you used CBT technique for reprogramming negative thoughts, patterns that result in negative emotions and impulsive reactions based on those emotions? I had my biggest breakthroughs. CBT, like cognitive behavioral therapy, yes. Cognitive behavioral therapy, I'm a huge proponent of. I don't think I've ever seriously needed cognitive behavioral therapy in my life to get over like something you would go to a therapist for, which is usually like a counselor or therapist will help you through the process of CBT. But I have used it and to great results because it's a very tried and true method. It's very simple. It's I love it. I've been a huge proponent of it since I was like a teenager, since I first heard of it. And yeah, you can have really good serious breakthroughs using cognitive behavioral therapy. It's really what we engage in is cognitive behavioral therapy. You know, everything is a form of changing your behavior, your thoughts, emotions, or your environment to increase your quality of life and your quality of thought, your quality of presence. So it's really where that's what we're doing. It's just like we call it spirituality or spiritual work. This is why I say like I hope there's a day where, or I envision a day where this isn't just spiritual stuff. This isn't just what hippies do, you know. This isn't what just self-help people do. It's what everyone does because it makes their lives better. It's like if you want to get stronger, you start lifting weights. It's like if you want to get healthy, lose weight, you start doing cardio or eat less food. It's just like it's like a law or whatever. I wouldn't call it a law. It's like if I want to get from A to B, I take the steps. And I hope that one day that's recognized by like everybody. It's just normal. It's like it's what's taught in schools or something, you know? Okay, now I think we've answered all the questions. It's a really wonderful live stream. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate you all for being here. And I will see you in the next one. I'm going to do a little prayer as I do. What's your another question? Another question right as I'm saying goodbye again. No, it's okay. One love, Dad. Okay, gotta go. Responsibilities calling. Nighttime. Yes. See you. Thank you for being here. Wonderful to see you here again. And I'll see you next time, I'm sure. No, it's okay, Tress. I can answer. Let's see. What's your opinion on using meditation to aim for enlightenment? Are there right meditations for it? Is the aim a good or a bad idea at all? And opinion on using a meditation to aim for enlightenment. Of course, that's perfectly appropriate. The right meditation. There are lots of different meditations, and if you focus your intent on becoming enlightened and you make it a deliberate practice and get very good, very focused, very proficient at any meditation technique you pick, you will make progress. So it's not like there's a right and a wrong one, but understand that the goal of meditation is to become present and relinquish all attachments to positionalities, concepts, ideas, forms, thought forms, emotionality. When you meditate, you're closing off the sense gates, as Buddha would say. You close the eyes. You can wear earplugs if you want, but you're in a quiet environment. You dim the lights. You're not eating anything. You're not moving because that would engage with the body's sense of touch. And you're going inwards through deliberate intention and focus. So as long as your meditation is conforming to those principles, then you will make progress. And as you make the progress, you'll naturally move in ways in terms of your technique, in terms of the frequency of you doing that technique, and when. It will evolve as you evolve. There are certain differences in potency for certain goals. I like to focus on Anapana or Vipassana, very good meditation techniques. I don't necessarily focus as much on visualization or mantra because you're utilizing a mind activity in order to gain focus and control and presence. It would be more potent in long term to eventually at least focus either on the breath or a sensation in the body through dispassionate observation than using a mantra or a visualization, because you would be using your own attention, your own deliberate focus of its own. You're not outsourcing the ability to focus to some sort of picture or sound. So I hope that helps, but you can use whatever works for you, and as you evolve, so will your technique. And having the intention for enlightenment is perfectly okay. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly good. It's better than having the intention to, I don't know, see how many Cheetos you can eat in one sitting. The intention is important, and it's okay. As you work, you will slowly develop, learn, and evolve. That's a wonderful last sentence you said. Tress is saying, thank you so much for taking the time. Funny how the answer makes so much sense. Sometimes, this is the great part, sometimes it feels like looking for new info instead of consistency. That's one of the sticky traps or whatever of this process, is you get so focused on trying to find the best technique or the best way to sit or the best mudra or where to point your eyes. Which one's the most secret and the most special and the most occult or esoteric, and it's going to transcend everything on one go. That you're going to get stuck in a loop of trying to get there, and you're getting there you're actually running on a hamster wheel, trying to get there, you're trying to get something that doesn't exist, this super secret special meditation trademarked thing. It's gonna it's like a pill you can just take and you'll be enlightened. It's unfortunately not really how it works when you're doing the day-to-day practice. Saying it's focusing on presence, yes. Been trying nadi, pranayama, vilom, anulom vilom. It focuses on breathing through the nose and following it. So it sounds like it works. I should try Cheeto eating meditation too. Yeah, you should. If you can be really present while eating those Cheetos, that's okay too. If it's just to see how many you can eat, not as potent as seeing how present you can be while you eat all of those Cheetos. Don't let your left hand know what your right hand does. That's Jesus Christ. Okay, so that's it. We're done. I'm sorry, but any more questions will not be answered. I will look at the chat and put them in the comments later. So thank you all for being here. Time to do my little intention, my little prayer. Thank you, God, for this day. Thank you so much for this live stream and all those who have come to be a part of this community, to be a part of this Sangha, this Satsang. We appreciate everything that we've been given. We're grateful for this community, and we're grateful for the presence that is being cultivated here. Thank you, everybody who is here. Thank you, everybody who came and visited, spent some time, opened their minds, were present, and willing to learn, and willing to grow. Without you, this would not be. This community is here, part of you and part of your effort to show up and be present. Thank you so much, everybody. I wish you all the best. May you all experience real peace. May you all experience real happiness. Thank you so much. May you all experience real peace. May you all experience real happiness. Peace be upon you, my friends. Thank you. Amen. Wow, I got really, really high there, lightheaded for a bit. That felt really good. Thank you, everybody. And I'll see you the next time.